Chapter 559. Including the money to repair the computers in the internet cafe, it should be around 5,000 yuan. F***CK. Master Pei is amazing. I thought it was her gaming addiction acting up. I didn't expect her to charge. No wonder I saw her carrying a pile of things to repair in the afternoon. She's actually earning money to repay Hua soon. Isn't this sister too much? I want to marry her. I thought about it. Children are watching, so I can't lead them astray. Bei Yunj smirked and turned to leave. Hua soon chased after her, his attitude obviously much more intimate than before. Master Pei, are you so good at gaming? Seeing Hua soon being so obsequious, everyone in the live stream wanted to laugh unconsciously. Why didn't this silly child bear any grudges? He had forgotten that he had been robbed before. What everyone did not expect was that Bei Yunj was the main reason for the popularity of their traveling. A portion of people had also become Bei Yunj's fans. However, there were also people who started to speak sarcastically. You earned so much from repairing computers and playing games? Qin Youjiao didn't earn so much even after playing the piano for an entire day. There are really so many Bei Yunj posts. Did the Qin family buy this at a high price? She made the headlines while playing games and repairing computers. I'm laughing. Seriously, delete the posts that helped Qin Youjiao in the past and criticize Bei Yunj again, okay? I, the esports fans, am the first to disagree. Are you looking down on proper professions? The words of Qin Youjiao's fans spread to the esports scene and were torn apart in full swing. On the other hand, a technical blogger in the esports scene dug out Bei Yunj's hand speed on the computer. She was probably much faster than Qin Lang. This shocked the entire esports scene. Were the genes of the Qin family born with esports cells? In the afternoon, when everyone realized that their traveling was not live streaming, they all tagged the official account. Even terms like hashtag their traveling hashtag had rushed to the trending searches. 258. How am I supposed to watch handsome guys if you guys stop broadcasting? At their traveling. F***CK, you're stopping your broadcast at this time? I order you to arrange it immediately. At their traveling. At their traveling? I've just become a fan. What are you doing? Very soon. The official account replied. They're traveling. Sorry for the long wait due to some uncontrollable reasons, we're changing the map. We hope that everyone will continue to support us. We'll continue the live stream tomorrow. But when they saw this message, the audience mocked him. Ha 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 ha, the uncontrollable reason is the human bug Bei Yunj. Can't you just change the name? The uncontrollable Master Pei, dog. It's so tragic. The production team has done so many designs, but in the end, they have to change the map. Ha ha ha. Over here. Bei Yunj, who was suddenly informed to change the map, raised her eyebrows unconsciously. Is something the matter? She asked. The film crew. Don't you have any idea? The next day. After a night of driving, everyone arrived at a place. It was a training ground. All the guests. Why was it different from what they had said? At this moment, the live broadcast had already begun. Ha ha ha, what the hell? Did the production team directly send him to the war zone? So ruthless. Master Pei is really pitiful. Qin Youjiao, who was beside her, glanced at Bei Yunj with dark eyes. She did not expect Bei Yunj's popularity to skyrocket in the past 2 days. There were actually so many people who liked her. Jiao, calm down, Yunnu reminded her. Hearing this. Chapter 560. As long as she found a chance, she would definitely make Bei Yunj step on her. Qin Youjiao's eyes were dark as she made up her mind. Changing the map at the last minute and changing the trip to a war zone, there were quite a lot of discussions outside. After all, this had nothing to do with traveling. Besides, the production team probably didn't consider that the little girl they had asked Qin Youjiao and Yun Nua to take care of before. Hello, I'm your instructor. During this period of time, I'll be in charge of everyone. The burly instructor blew a long whistle and shouted in a hoarse voice. Do you all understand? Understood. The instructor frowned. When you speak, you have to shout, reporting. Reporting, understood. Seeing that these people were easy to take care of, the instructor's eyebrows relaxed slightly. However, when he asked these people to start standing in a military posture, He felt that it was difficult. Other than Qin Yu and the flower shield, the military posture they were standing in was not right. After the instructor pointed at them one by one, he stopped in front of Qin Yojiao and nodded. Not bad. Clench your hands tightly. The corners of Qin Yojiao's lips curled up and she continued to stand seriously. Soon, the instructor also stopped in front of Bei Yunj. Her military posture was not bad, but for some reason, there was a laziness to it. She looked like those troublemakers in the war zone. Have you stood in a military posture before? The instructor could not help asking. Reporting, I have. Bei Yunj did not hide it, but this laziness did not diminish. Actually, when these people came in just now, the people in the war zone who passed by were secretly saying that a goddess had arrived on this variety show. They were talking about Bei Yunj. Tsinghua University. Not long after she arrived, the other instructors who had yet to receive training were already shouting for the team belle. However, they probably did not expect this team belle to be a little troublemaker. After an entire morning of training, the difficulty did not decrease at all, making the people in the comments start to feel sorry for their idol. However, the girl who was praised the most was Qin Yojiao. Her attitude was serious and she could learn most of it immediately. In the comments, Qin Yojiao's fans were already overjoyed. Especially after lunch, they finally had time to rest for a while. When everyone sat down to interact, Qin Yojiao's talent was praised by all the instructors. Hearing this, Qin Yojiao only nodded with a smile. She looked very cultured. And this morning, Bei Yunj seemed to be quite quiet. This caused the comments to go with the wind. I'm dying of laughter. Didn't you see that the instructor only paid attention to Bei Yunj from the beginning to the end? Most of the comments were from Qin Yojiao's fans. Reporting. This child has to go to the infirmary. Bei Yunj glanced at Lila, who was standing beside her. Seeing that it was useless to shade her from the sun with her hands, she took off her hat and fanned her. Who allowed you to take off your hat? Reporting, we'll punish her later. This child is going to get a heat stroke. Bei Yunj's pretty eyes revealed a trace of impatience. At this moment, the instructor also glanced at the production team. Chapter 561. Director, if anything happens to this child, do you have the ability to take someone's life? Bei Yunj asked slowly. Only Bei Yunj dared to say this. Qin Yu, who was beside him, looked over and said, Director, send her away. Seeing that Qin Yu had said so, the production team had no choice but to agree. At this moment, the manager's mother hurriedly said, She's fine. She'll be fine after resting for a while. This was such a good opportunity to be exposed. If Lila left now, wouldn't she miss out on a huge sum of money? Some people in the production team frowned unconsciously. Although many mothers of cute children would send their children into the entertainment industry to develop, this was the most ruthless mother they had ever seen. A few cameramen also gave this mother some shots. Seeing this, Lila's mother panicked. Her expression was terrible and she called reluctantly to get someone to fetch Lila. Mom, I'm so tired. At this moment, Lila, who was wearing a camouflage uniform, was already crying. In the comments, everyone's heart ached. This child was only 4 or 5 years old. At this time, children would only rely more on what their parents said. If no one taught them good and evil, right and wrong, they would lack a moral measure in their hearts. When it was about time for someone to take Lila away. At the same time, Bei Yunj was still standing in a military posture, looking straight ahead as she fanned the child with one hand. She could almost feel that Lila's mother was the culprit behind Qin Yu's incident in her previous life. Little Lila looked at her for a while before leaving with her mother. But as he walked, a piece of candy fell from his belt. Little Lila was stunned for a moment before she squatted down to pick it up. She roughly knew where this candy came from. Little Lila could not help but look up at her. Sister, do you hate me a lot? Bei Yunj smirked and reached out to tug at her belt gently. Can't you tell? She had heard from the company that the market for couples with age differences was not bad. At this thought, Lila's mother was annoyed. It's all Bei Yunj's fault. Really? Mom, is it because people only like good children? On the way, she listened to her mother go on. If it wasn't for Bei Yunj, I would have made you and Qin Yu a couple long ago. After little Lila finished speaking, she turned her head and continued to eat the candy. It was as if they had just talked about the weather. However, Lila's mother was inexplicably flustered. Little Lila bit the candy and asked while holding her hand. Before Lila's mother could answer her, Lila turned her head. Her expressionless gaze and words made her freeze. Then why do you want me to be a bad child? Bei Yunja's eyes were clear and she looked casual. Reporting, it's because I don't dare to take off your hat. The guests. When they heard Bei Yunja's comment, they felt as if they had been resurrected. Why did you take off your hat? The instructor looked at Bei Yunj and asked. Obviously. He was here to make trouble. Master Pei, is there really anything in this world that you don't dare to do? Bei Yunj, don't you know that you will be trained hard? You like to be in the limelight too much. Ha 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 ha, you're the first person to answer an irrelevant question. It was the instructor's first time meeting such a polite troublemaker. He was silent for a while. I heard that your show changed to my show at the last minute because of you? Chapter 562. Bei Yunja's eyebrows moved unconsciously and she looked at someone else for an answer. In the end, the two guests on the left and right lowered their heads, not daring to look at Bei Yunj. Bei Yunj was speechless. Hence, when the scene fell into silence, Bei Yunj did not speak. You were the one who said that you would be punished later, right? Yes. Bei Yunj looked up with her beautiful eyes, as if she was not afraid of being punished. That little girl was about to faint just now. It's not that I don't care. The instructor thought for a moment and said, you can either run 10 laps as punishment, or you can choose someone from the shooting range over there and have a better result than him within 10 shots. If you want to choose the second option, then if you succeed, this matter will be over. If you fail, you will be punished to run 20 laps. Some of Qin Lang's true fans had already successfully entered the role of sister-in-law. I'm too speechless. Pei Pei, a girl, was originally here to travel, but the production team sent her to the war zone? Hearing the instructor's words, everyone gasped. Wasn't this heartless enough? It's fine if you're sticking to the main character, but you're even sticking to his sister? I'm speechless. Pei Pei, listen to sister-in-law. Let's lower our heads first and run less if we can. Look at her thin arms and legs. She wants to run 20 laps? Is the team unwilling to be human? Did the person upstairs forget that it was because Bei Yunj lost the Azura card that they rushed to change the map in the middle of the night? Okay. Bei Yunj glanced at the shooting range not far away and licked her red lips. I guarantee that Bei Yunj will definitely go to the shooting range. I've already predicted the scene where the troublemaker will be defeated. This was also within the instructor's expectations. Reporting, if she makes a mistake, I'm willing to run double. In the next moment, everyone saw Bei Yunj walking towards the shooting range. Wasn't double the 20 laps equivalent to 40 laps? Qin Yu's fans' hearts ached visibly in the comments. At this moment, Qin Yu spoke. It was not easy to break the rules of the competition, so he could only use this method now. If she entered society with such a personality, she would suffer sooner or later. At this time. No. The instructor glanced at Qin Yu. This is also a form of training for her. They really wanted to go easy on the team flower. However, if he lost on purpose, the outcome would definitely be tragic. When Bei Yunj walked towards the shooting range, she was followed by another supervising instructor. From afar, he could hear the discussion at the shooting range. It seemed like the team bell was going to pick someone to compete with in shooting. Bei Yunj glanced at the 20 people and his eyes fell on a familiar face. I'll take him. Bei Yunj, pick a person to compete with. Another instructor who seemed to be easier to talk to said with a smile. Pei. He opened his mouth, but the word was spoken so softly that it couldn't be heard. The person who was chosen was Ai Hui, whom he had met before. Bei Yunj pointed at one and went to the shooting range to get a gun. The person who had been chosen was completely stunned. He subconsciously looked at Bei Yunj. She had chosen the person who was the best at shooting. Among this group of people, only Ai Hui's ability was not bad and he was sent out to be Ji Yiqing's subordinate. Ji Yiqing's subordinate. Are you sure you want to pick him? The instructor frowned. He did not expect Bei Yunj to be so unlucky. Can't I? Bei Yunj glanced at him. Sure. The instructor thought for a moment. Since they were going to lose anyway, it didn't matter if it was worse. P.S. I'll post it after I finish writing. Babies, remember the monthly votes. Chapter 563. Just as Ah Hui was about to digest that Bei Yunj was here to film a variety show, he was about to pretend that he did not know Bei Yunj to avoid causing trouble for Bei Yunj when he heard her say, "You're not done yet? Are you so troublesome in the war zone?" Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows unconsciously. In her previous life, when she was kidnapped by terrorists when she was 12 years old, if she had met this person instead of that person, she would have been reborn more than 10 years earlier. Ah Hui was speechless. It was normal for him to hate this person. "I won't let you do it." Ah Hui thought for a moment and chuckled. "You're definitely going to run 20 rounds. I thought that Bei Yunj chose an old friend, but it turns out that she chose an enemy? I can't describe Bei Yunj's courage anymore. Can't she treat herself better? To be honest, I can feel this little brother's malice even through the screen. She deserves it. If it wasn't for her, how could she have changed the map? I'm speechless that she implicated the other guests. The fans above are probably haters. Are Qin Youjiao's true fans? She won with her own ability, so how can you blame her? Are you blaming her for being too strong? The person above is dying of laughter. Whether she's strong or not depends on whether she can win this round. Miss Pei, sorry for the offense. Ah Hui had long been unhappy with Ji Yiqing's attitude towards Bei Yunj. When he returned, Ji Yiqing suspended him for 2 months because of Bei Yunj. If he didn't take revenge today, when would he let this elder young miss know what the world was like? With this thought in mind, Ah Hui had already started to practice seriously. He followed the speed set by the district and shot 10 shots in a row. His results were not bad. 93. It was considered a normal performance. When the other team members saw this result, they could not help but whistle. Ran Wen. The instructor also had a proud look on his face. This was the member with the best results in their team. Miss Pei, although I admire you in other aspects, I hope that this will be a growth in your life. Ah Hui thought for a moment. In front of the camera, he could not make things too difficult for Bei Yunj. Bei Yunj only smiled when she heard this. After loading the gun, she looked at the bullseye in the distance. Bei Yunj's beautiful eyes narrowed. After she aimed, she heard a gunshot. As soon as the noise stopped, only the people in the live stream who saw the camera suddenly curled up their lips. Even the tips of their eyes were curved. Her bright eyes were filled with high spirits and willful brashness. Gunshots rang out continuously. The viewers in the live broadcast room could not see Bei Yunj's real score. However, this smooth and flowing fighting style and aura was definitely an A-level explosion. This speed was even faster than that delicate little brother from before. Shortly after. Before Bei Yunj's anti-fans could say anything, they heard the cameraman next door curse. Everyone watching the live stream. What did he see? Program team, what are you guys doing? I want to see results. What about the results? Not long after. Everyone's cell phones followed the cameraman's camera and focused on Bei Yunj's results. 99. In an instant. Even the live stream was silent. For some reason, they felt their scalps go numb. Is this real? I'm a little rusty, she muttered to herself. When she was shooting just now, the skin between her thumb and index finger hurt. Chapter 564. Bei Yunj frowned unconsciously. In the eyes of everyone, it was because the results were not satisfactory enough. At this moment, the team members who had just finished training on the field froze when they saw this scene. What did they miss just now? Brother Hui was 93, and this Team Flower was 99? Was this world a fantasy, or were they dreaming? Do you mind if I try again? Bei Yunj ignored the others and changed to another gun to test the feel of it. Then, he did it again. This time, he tried 15 shots in a row. The screen showed that it was 150 again. Seeing that the touch was back, Bei Yunj's lips curled up. The team members behind were completely petrified. What the hell? At this speed, they almost thought that they were shooting blindly, but in the end, they all hit 10 points. At this moment, looking at Bei Yunj's results, the instructor suddenly had the illusion that he should retire. Not long after, the instructor found his voice. You've learned it before? Yes. Bei Yunj did not deny it. Who learned it from? The instructor was already having a headache. Who was so capable to teach a young girl who was not even 20 years old to such a level? You won't see her. Her surname is Shi. Bei Yunj smiled. It was a female officer who was 5 years older than Bei Yunj in his previous life. At that time, she was only 17 or 18 years old and was already on an A-level mission. Ever since Bei Yunj's accident when he was 12 years old, she would take over Bei Yunj every summer vacation. In the eyes of others, one was the focus of scientific research, and the other was an unprecedented god-level figure in the war zone. However, ever since he was taken over by that person, Bei Yunj had indeed never lost a fight. In addition, when the people in the outside world who were ready to make a move knew that the person who took over the scientific research field was that person from the Shi family, they were so afraid that they gave up. Nuancai Literature Network. At this moment, everyone automatically understood this to mean that he might not be from a country. Are you considering coming here to develop in the future? The instructor was silent for a moment and suddenly asked tentatively. Not considering. After Bei Yunj finished speaking, he asked slowly, Can I return to the team now? Yes. After watching Bei Yunj leave, the instructor immediately called his superior. It was not worth it to let go of such a seedling. Throughout the whole process, Ai Hui stood rooted to the ground in a daze. 99? 150. So not only does Bei Yunj know how to fight, but he also knows how to use guns? Ai Hui suddenly felt his scalp go numb. He froze at the thought of his arrogant speech just now. But this time, I hope that it will also be a growth in your life. That's a live stream. Can you delete me? Ai Hui turned his head expressionlessly and asked his teammate. His teammates looked at him with pity. Don't you know the prettiest girl? Don't you know that she's so good with guns? I always thought that she was an extremely arrogant young lady. Ai Hui replied honestly. In the end, he was the one who became arrogant. Everyone. Tragic, truly tragic. Why are you back? The instructor, who was in the middle of training, froze when he saw Bei Yunj walking back slowly. I won, so I came back. Bei Yunj said this very naturally. The bullet screen went crazy. I feel like I'm watching a police movie. Bei Yunj's marksmanship just now was so professional that I was scared. I'm a retired soldier. I'm also scared when I saw it. Chapter 565. Oh, I'm speechless. She was so good at shooting just now. Did Bei Yunj come to this show to embarrass herself? Why did brother you only bring his sister out today? She's so outstanding. I love her so much. Like the instructor, the guests stared at Bei Yunj in a daze. The instructor couldn't help but ask, Who's the one who competed with you? His name is Ai Hui. Bei Yunj said unhurriedly. When the instructor heard this, he froze. That was the best member of that team. How could he lose to Bei Yunj? Could it be that he went easy on her? But Ai Hui knew the pros and cons. How could he do something that would get him punished in the war zone? Just as the instructor was about to speak, a phone call suddenly came in. After the instructor picked up the phone, he was shocked by what the other party said. After a long time, he slowly put down the phone. He looked at Bei Yunj with a complicated expression. Go to Building 7. Find someone to take you there. The instructor didn't say who it was, but Bei Yunj could sense that someone wanted to see her. However, it wasn't appropriate to mention this name on the variety show. Soon, a female team member took her to Building 7 in a special car. Along the way, she looked at her in disbelief, as if she was a national treasure. Bei Yunj. She might as well go there and stand in a military posture. However, Bei Yunj didn't expect that when she arrived at Building 7, she would almost be unable to come out because of her shooting results today. On the 6th floor of Building 7. I don't plan to enroll in the military academy. Bei Yunj's eyelids twitched. She didn't expect to encounter such a situation on a variety show. No, you want to. Think about it again. Do you want to? The person who spoke was a middle-aged man who looked energetic. He had several stripes on his shoulders and looked like the manager of this area. Bei Yunj's eyelids twitched as she sat under the air conditioner with a teacup in her hand. I have other important things to do. Is it more important than contributing to the country? The middle-aged man said confidently. Bei Yunj felt that if this man had changed his clothes, she would believe that he was a kidnapper. Bei Yunj said when he couldn't get through to her. How about this? I'll make a call. When that person comes over later, if you can convince him, I'll go and enroll in the first military academy. All right. When the middle-aged man heard this, he thought that Bei Yunj was going to call her parents, so he agreed with a hearty smile. He was the best at reasoning with parents. At this time, Bei Yunj listened to Zhong Shenglin's scolding as she made the call. All right, I'll wait for you here. Zhong Shenglin was so angry that he didn't even have time to take off his white coat. Don't be afraid. I'm going to settle the score with that bastard right now. This was too much. How long had it been since he signed Bei Yunj? Even the people in the theater of operations were trying to poach him? All right. Bei Yunj nodded. After the conversation, Bei Yunj hung up. How was it? What did your parents say? Bei Yunj paused for a moment and looked at him slowly. The corners of her lips curled up. He said that he will come and look for you. All right, it's easy as long as your parents are here. Old Master Lung smiled. The more he looked at Bei Yunj, the more he liked him. He even started to ask if Bei Yunj was engaged and if she would consider a matchmaking session. He still had a grandson with good potential. Bei Yunj was silent the entire time. However, about half an hour later, Zhong Shenglin arrived at the entrance of the war zone. Chapter 566. Elder Zhong? The guard outside saw Elder Zhong standing in an armed car with his hands behind his back. Behind him were more than 10 strong bodyguards in black. The guard was speechless. What was going on? Why aren't you opening the door? Zhong Shenglin glanced at him coldly. His eyes were filled with killing intent. He felt that he was looking for someone to fight with. Compared to the output of martial arts, Zhong Shenglin definitely had no advantage in the war zone. However, the advanced systems and some of the new weapons in their district were all developed by Elder Zhong. The guard had no choice but to open the door. In any case, as the #1 computer scientist in the country, Elder Zhong would not do anything that would lower his status. That was what they thought. At this moment, Elder Zhong got out of the car expressionlessly and walked to Building 7 with more than 10 bodyguards. The director team, who was recording the show and filming the guests, saw a familiar face pass by aggressively. There were more than 10 bodyguards behind him. The scene was inexplicably strange. The director team was speechless. That was Mr. Zhong Shenglin, right? What was he doing here? Everyone had different thoughts, but they were very sensible and did not mention Zhong Shenglin. Only the people in the live stream did not know that a scientific researcher had passed by behind the camera. What do you think of this school? Old Master Lung had already introduced the school to Bei Yunj very naturally, but at this moment, the people outside the door could not stop him. Zhong Shenglin had already kicked the door open and entered. Zhong Shenglin, what are you doing? This was the first time Old Master Lung saw Zhong Shenglin like this. Wasn't he too angry? Zhong Shenglin sneered. Why was this person asking him? I love Chinese network. Shouldn't I be the one asking you what you're doing? With that, Zhong Shenglin walked in front of Old Master Leng and was suddenly stopped by Old Master Lung. He did not even see Bei Yunj. Old Master Lung said confidently, "This is my successor. Don't do anything rash." Zhong Shenglin's face darkened. He went up and pushed Old Master Lung. Did I agree to what you said? Did Lon Jun agree? Old Master Lung was caught off guard and sat on the sofa. He straightened his neck and looked at him. Hey. Did this person drink fake alcohol today? He actually dared to hit him. Soon, Old Master Lung looked at Zhong Shenglin's face and gradually understood who Zhong Shenglin was for. This was the first time he saw Old Master Lung. He almost wanted to fight with him on the spot. Old Zhong, don't tell me you think you can take her away with just a dozen people? Old Master Lung chuckled, looking down on him. What was this place? Old Master Lung heard Zhong Shenglin say gently, "Take out everything." Outside the door, more than 10 bodyguards in black opened the things. It was the high-level weapon that Old Master Lung had asked Zhong Shenglin for help to design. Old Master Lung suddenly had a bad feeling. However, as expected, Zhong Shenglin smiled gently. If you don't let him go today, I'll throw these things down from the 6th floor. Don't even think about the Computing Institute developing anything for you for the rest of your life. Old Master Lung. Was Zhong Shanglin already so sincere that he wanted to fight with him? Chapter 567. Old Master Lung was most afraid of scientific researchers. Each of them was more stubborn than the other. Just as expected. Old Master Lung heard Zhong Shanglin say coldly, "Don't make it sound so easy for you to hurt me." Had he been watching some tragic drama recently? Then let's be reasonable, okay? Old Master Lung took a deep breath. He did not want to fight with Zhong Shanglin here either. He tried his best to make his voice sound more kind. What about Yunj? She has the ability to do this. What can she do if you ask her to go to the research institute? Play games in the computing institute? Bei Yunj glanced at Old Master Lung unconsciously. Zhong Shanglin was also in disbelief by Old Master Lung's shocking words. So this person did not know Guer at all and already wanted Bei Yunj to be his successor. Zhong Shanglin thought for a moment and glanced at Old Master Lung. Finally, he went to close the door. Zhong Shanglin said, "Old Lung, let me tell you the truth. Among the people who tried to steal my woman, you're the least qualified to fight with me." Old Master Lung was speechless. Why was Zhong Shanglin so arrogant recently? However, Zhong Shanglin felt that he was telling the truth. Nance had the Higgins family, and Marcus was the director of a top computing institute. Even that Stephen from the medical institute was at least part of the academic circle. What about this Lung guy? Did he have to let a scientific research genius fight with him against a criminal gang? Did the scientific research field give people the illusion that there were many talents this year, making them think that scientific research geniuses were not important? What can she do with you? Can you give her the institute? Why can't I? Even if the door was closed, the people outside could hear the shouting conversation very clearly. The bodyguards and the guards looked at each other. 1717. So, were these two people all right? At this moment, Bei Yunj moved her eyebrows and said, "Old Master Lung, thank you for your kindness, but I really can't accept your kindness." Why? Old Master Lung could not believe it. After thinking for a while, Bei Yunj said honestly, "Because I can't take it." Old Master Lung, why did it sound so perfunctory? Forget it, let's lay our cards on the table. Anyway, Old Lung wants to know everything. Seeing that Bei Yunj didn't stop him, Zhong Shanglin asked straightforwardly, "Do you remember that your superior asked you to mobilize the elites in the theater of operations?" "I remember." However, when he regained his senses, he felt that Zhong Shanglin was being ridiculous and deliberately mystifying. What does this have to do with Yunj? Upon hearing this, Zhong Shanglin smiled. It was said in the last meeting that we will pick out elites from the war zone for protection. He explained kindly, "She is." As soon as he finished speaking, Old Master Lung froze. It took him a while to react. He jerked his head up and looked at Bei Yunj in disbelief. Such a young girl? He thought that he was at least 40 or 50 years old. In the end, he was F*King 2 rounds younger? Wait a minute, that mathematics award is also hers? Old Master Lung suddenly felt his scalp turn numb. Yes. She was nominated for both the mathematics award and the computing award. So, Old Lang, if you poach her, how are you going to explain it to the higher-ups? Zhong Shanglin was smiling. He really wanted to beat someone up when he saw how happy he was. However, Zhong Shanglin was right. If the two of them fought for her, the higher-ups would definitely help Zhong Shanglin. Chapter 568. Old Master Lang's mood instantly became extremely complicated. At this moment, he could not help but ask, "Then why are you participating in the variety show?" Wasn't she afraid that her true identity would be exposed in the future and cause an accident? "I came with someone." As soon as Bei Yunj finished speaking, Zhong Shanglin was stunned. "You're participating in a variety show?" Looking at the shocked expressions on their faces, her eyebrows twitched but she did not say anything. She simply acquiesced. In the end, although Old Master Lang was very indignant, he could only help Bei Yunj hide her identity. He immediately sent someone to contact the production team and cut out all the shooting segments of Bei Yunj. Since they had already signed the contract for this variety show, they could only continue recording. So, the fans had just created a super topic for Bei Yunj when it suddenly disappeared. However, they could not attract any more attention. At this moment, Zhong Shanglin was also contacting his acquaintances to suppress the popularity of Bei Yunj. They had been in the industry for so many years, but this was the first time they had encountered such a thing? The super topic was gone. It was as if it had never existed. This made Bei Yunji's fans feel like they had seen a ghost. When Bei Yunji returned to the team, the instructor did not have time to react before he saw Old Master Lung walking over. His eyes widened and he immediately saluted Old Master Lung. Then where were they going to get the data? After that, the manager of the war zone was not someone to be trifled with. However, the director did not expect Old Master Lung to look for him to make a few requests. Old Master Lung nodded and walked directly to the director. "You're the director, right? I'm the person in charge of this area. I want to talk to you about some private matters." Hearing this, the director naturally did not dare to refuse. The live broadcast of the shooting had to be deleted as soon as possible. Why? The director could not help but ask. Reduce Bei Yunji's scenes. Suppress all the popularity of Bei Yunji. Usually, when someone made this request to him, it was definitely to ban her. However, how could the higher-ups put in so much effort to ban a little girl? Old Master Lung smiled. "I'm sorry, comrade. This is the arrangement of the higher-ups. For the rest of the work, I hope you can film her back and not show her face." When the director heard this, he also sensed that something was wrong. "But she and Qin Yu are the most popular guests among us." The director murmured. The only possibility was that they wanted to protect Bei Yunji's privacy. However, the director was also very curious. What did Bei Yunji's privacy have that was worth Old Master Lung's protection? If this variety show failed again, his career would be completely ruined. How about this? Do it well first. If you have any difficulties, you can contact me. This time, he had spent a lot of money on this variety show. Some time ago, because of his family's accident, he had lost his family's wealth. After this matter was settled, after a few days, everyone realized that the instructor no longer made things difficult for Bei Yunji. Old Master Lung smiled and said, "The national channel also has the idea of recording a variety show. We can also apply for you to do it." This made the netizens, who had come to watch the variety show because of Bei Yunji, unable to help but at the official account online to ask. Bei Yunji's scenes were getting fewer and fewer with each episode. What was even more surprising was that most of the scenes were actually her back. Instead, they had changed their target. But in the end, a few seconds later, their messages were automatically blocked. The speed of this blocking was even faster than those capitalists suppressing the news. Chapter 569. This made some netizens feel that something was wrong. However, no matter who they gave feedback to, no one answered this question. Gradually, the popularity of Bei Yunji's group dropped and everyone's attention was on Qin Yu. Almost no one reacted. Occasionally, Bei Yunji would not have any scenes in the afternoon. Bei Yunji was drinking tea with Old Master Lung in Building 7. After interacting with her for a few days, Old Master Lung felt that Bei Yunji was too compatible with his personality. If Zhong Shenglin had not kept a close eye on her, he really wanted to try poaching her. "Girl, why do you have a call every afternoon?" Old Master Lung looked at her mischievously. Bei Yunji smiled. "It's my older brother." Hearing this, Old Master Lung thought that he was her biological brother and did not ask further. However, on the last day, at the program banquet arranged by the production team, Old Master Lung happened to see a familiar figure when he passed by. It was Hua Shidu. "Shidu, why are you here?" Old Master Lung looked at him in surprise and immediately walked over. "To pick someone up." Hua Shidu nodded slightly at Old Master Lung and glanced at his watch. He was still standing casually by the car. In the eyes of others, the man was wearing an exquisite handmade white shirt. The hem of his shirt was loosely tucked, making his figure look perfect. Under his suit pants, his slender and straight legs were excessively ascetic. His pale-colored eyes were filled with gentleness, but he gave off a feeling that he was 1,000 miles away. No one dared to go forward and talk to him. Elder. In Old Master Lang's impression, other than his elders, Hua Shidu did not receive such treatment from the other juniors. "No, he's a child." Hua Shidu smirked, his eyes smiling carelessly. "He's quite hard to coax." For some reason, Hua Shidu felt that there was something wrong with this child's attitude recently. However, Old Master Lung raised an eyebrow in surprise. This was his first time hearing him say this. "Shidu, Do you have a girlfriend? Wuxia caressed the silver lighter with his fingertips, a dark smile in his eyes as he said casually, "Not yet." This time, some fans were even selected to watch the ending banquet held by the director. Qin Youjiao and the rest were already doing their makeup backstage. Only Bei Yunj did not show up, nor did she have any intention of going on stage. When the director saw this, he turned a blind eye to it. Anyway, he couldn't leave any footage. When the time came, Bei Yunj would just have to participate in a simple segment to fool her. As soon as she arrived at the banquet, she heard the war zone personnel greeting each other. "Team Flower, why didn't you perform?" This form of address made Bei Yunj's eyes twitch unconsciously. She said lazily, "I'm not performing." Hearing this, the war zone personnel who originally wanted to watch Bei Yunj's performance were a little disappointed. The next moment, a handsome and delicate boy of the same age was pushed in front of her. They were also from the theater of operations. "Bei Yunj, can I talk to you in private?" The boy held his trousers nervously, but he didn't notice that someone was watching them not far away. Bei Yunj looked at the time and did not refuse. She followed him to a quieter place. However, the boy suddenly stammered, "Bei Yunj, I like you." After his confession, the boy's face turned red and he looked very innocent. Bei Yunj narrowed her eyes calmly. "I'm sorry. It doesn't matter if you accept it or not. I just want a chance to pursue you." Chapter 570. Bei Yunj's eyebrows twitched. However, before she could say anything else, a familiar voice came from behind her. "Yun Yun." The moment Bei Yunj turned around, she saw the man walking towards her with his long legs. At this moment, Bei Yunj felt an inexplicable sense of guilt. She wondered if this man was going to question her about her puppy love the moment he opened his mouth. After all, this man had always treated her like a child. Suddenly, the man's deep and lazy voice sounded slowly. "Is this a friend?" Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows slightly and glanced at Wuxia in surprise. Not long after, her gaze stopped on the boy who looked uneasy. She responded faintly, not intending to make the situation even more awkward. The moment he saw this man, he felt a sense of danger. "This is my brother." However, the boy seemed to have made up his mind and asked tentatively, "Who is this gentleman?" "So it's my brother." However, the boy with slow EQ did not notice Wuxia's expression at all. Instead, he bowed respectfully to Wuxia and said seriously, "Hello, brother." Bei Yunj did not think too much about it and said casually. When the man heard this, his pale-colored eyes darkened. He looked straight at Bei Yunj and subconsciously licked the tip of his teeth. He took a deep breath and chuckled softly. The man's eyes were dark and seemed to be filled with unfathomable danger. Then he let out a faint snort. "Are you still throwing a tantrum with your brother?" Bei Yunj was speechless. Looking at this situation, she felt that the atmosphere was strange. What kind of conflict could these two have? Just as the boy was thinking, Wuxia chuckled again. His casual and low voice was blatantly seductive. "Is Yun Yun so unhappy because brother found a female companion last time?" Wuxia turned around and looked at Bei Yunj as if there were only the two of them in this scene. However, these words also aroused the boy's curiosity. Although Bei Yunj looked a little cold, he did not seem to have seen her quarrel with anyone before. Was this a brother complex? However, she didn't feel this way when she interacted with Qin Yu before. The boy. He looked at Bei Yunj in disbelief. Apart from feeling that this sentence was strange, he also didn't expect Bei Yunj to be so possessive of his brother. "Don't be unhappy. For Yun Yun's sake, I won't find a girlfriend in the future." Wuxia gently pinched Bei Yunj's cheek. When he let go, his fingers rubbed against it intimately. This made Bei Yunj unconsciously feel a trace of numbness in her heart. It was as if the residual warmth on her cheeks had a kind of burning ambiguity. "What are you talking about?" Bei Yunj's eyelids twitched. Did he not know whether his female companion was a woman or not? Now it was for her. Bei Yunj could not help but look at Wuxia, wanting to pinch his face. However, Bei Yunj, who had just regained her senses, fell silent. This man made it sound so nice. She was the one who said that she didn't want to fall in love for 5 to 6 years. How could it be so thick? "Yun Yunj, aren't you going to let your brother find a girlfriend?" A strange feeling rose in the boy's heart. He suddenly thought of some kind of orthopedic relationship and his scalp turned numb unconsciously. However, when he looked up, he saw the man's handsome and dignified eyes. His figure was tall like jade. Standing beside the bright and beautiful girl, their auras were inexplicably compatible. Chapter 571. Bei Yunj. At this moment, Bei Yunj felt that Huashidu was extremely childish. She would only be happy if he smeared her name. However, in the eyes of the boy, Bei Yunj's silence was a tacit agreement. This was no longer a problem of brother complex. Then, just as the boy mustered up his courage and wanted to save the girl who had a sick brother complex, he suddenly saw Huashidu lift Bei Yunj's chin again. Yun, open your mouth and take a look. The man's fingers caressed the lower edge of her delicate lips gently and ambiguously. Brother, check if you've eaten anything these few days. Bei Yunj knew that Huashidu was talking about her teeth, so she did not feel burdened and opened her mouth gently. However, from this angle, Huashidu could not see her teeth clearly. The corners of his lips curled up, and his gaze swept over the crowd calmly and leisurely. And from this angle, in the eyes of the boy, they looked like a couple kissing. This made the boy's mind explode. He widened his eyes and looked at the scene in front of him in disbelief. However, his gaze landed on the man's dark eyes and the hand that was holding the little girl's chin. He did not hide his possessiveness towards this little girl. The boy reacted and his face was a little pale as he stared blankly at the scene in front of him. Not long after, Bei Yunj and Huashidu walked backstage to prepare for the livestream banquet. She glanced at the lounge with her name on it, pushed the door open and walked in. Brother, why are you here today? Bei Yunj glanced at him. If she did not know that Huashidu often worked overtime, she would have thought that he had nothing to do. To pick you up. Huashidu glanced at the lounge. It was not very good. In fact, from what he knew, it was slightly simple and the space was not big. I thought that Big Brother was here to spread rumors, said 101 Chinese. Bei Yunj laughed lazily. She glanced at the man standing by the door and knew that this man might be a little obsessed with cleanliness and felt that this place was not very good. Thinking of this, Bei Yunj walked towards Huashidu. Are you uncomfortable here? Hearing this, a dark look flashed across Huashidu's eyes when he heard the sound of footsteps. He then glanced at the open door casually. He looked at the little girl in front of him who didn't have any good ideas. Suddenly, the corner of his lips curled up. His lazy voice dragged out, as if he was deliberately teasing people's eardrums. No, I won't. With Yun around, I feel comfortable. Bei Yunj. Why did everything this man said sound so lustful? At the thought of this, Bei Yunj looked up and saw the man standing lazily by the wall. His handsome and noble eyes were a little cynical, and her heart itched. Thus, the thoughts of the past 10 minutes appeared in his mind again. Suddenly, before he could react, the beautiful girl in front of him pressed him against the wall and boldly reached out to ravage the man's excessively handsome face. At the same time, the man who had confessed to Bei Yunj happened to see the girl he liked pushing the man he had just seen into the corner of the room when he opened the door. At this moment, the man's expression changed when he saw this scene through the crack of the door. Were they really in such a relationship? However, just as the man was still trying to deceive himself, he heard the man's deep and magnetic voice in the room. It was ambiguous and hoarse, and it made his ears burn. Yun, don't touch me. In an instant, the man was completely petrified. Chapter 572. He was stunned for a long time. Then, he heard that familiar voice from inside. Haven't you touched me? The girl's clear voice sounded naturally, but the amount of information in her words was shocking. The boy's face could not be any stiffer. So, they had been in such a relationship for a long time? Suddenly, he felt that this world was so sinful. Not long after, he gritted his teeth. He was still unwilling to accept this. He made up his mind to look inside and see more clearly. But when he pushed the door open a little more, suddenly, the man, who was leaning lazily against the wall with a seductive gaze, grabbed Bei Yunj's slender and fair wrists. This stunned Bei Yunj. But before she could regain her senses, the man suddenly curled his thin lips. His Adam's apple rolled sexily as he let out a low laugh. Then, the man suddenly held her hand and placed it on his neck. With a spin, Bei Yunj was pressed against the corner of the wall. Brother! Before Bei Yunj could say anything, The man suddenly hooked his arm around her waist and bent down. His warm breath sprayed beside her ear. A warm sensation gently pressed against her ear again. Bei Yunj trembled. Her thoughts instantly went blank as if she had been electrocuted. The boy who had just peeked in happened to see this scene. His entire body turned cold from the blow. He watched as the man lowered his head and did something to the girl's neck. "You!" The boy's pupils constricted. Just as he was about to interrupt, Wuxia suddenly closed the door without raising his head. This made the boy's expression change again and again. So, this man had discovered him long ago and deliberately let him see this scene. When the boy regained his senses, he also thought of Wuxia's attitude towards him. He seemed to have been hostile from the beginning. Colorful Chinese until the boy left. Bei Yunj's heartbeat returned to normal, but the strange emotions that rose in her heart did not dissipate. Did Wuxia kiss her just now? Although this action was very sudden, Bei Yunj didn't feel any disgust. Instead, she didn't dislike this man's closeness. However, Bei Yunj suddenly felt a little embarrassed when she saw the man's gaze and the way he couldn't hide his smile. "Wuxia." The man answered naturally. You don't seem to feel guilty at all." Bei Yunj looked at him and said. It was as if he had never done such a thing. Wuxia tried his best to suppress the corners of his lips and cooperate with the young lady. Bei Yunj looked at the man in front of her and said lazily, "I feel quite guilty." Why couldn't she tell? So why did he suddenly do that just now? Bei Yunj's mind raced as she looked at the bastard's face. She originally wanted to say some harsh words, but she changed her mind. "Control yourself." When Wuxia heard this, the corners of his lips unconsciously curled up. He quickly lowered his head. Bei Yunj originally thought that Wuxia had suddenly realized that there was something wrong with his behavior. However, before she could speak, she suddenly heard the man's low and hoarse chuckle. Bei Yunj. "All right, brother, control yourself. Yun will also understand, brother." The man's low and magnetic voice carried a teasing smile. It was extremely sexy. Chapter 573. Seeing the girl almost running away, the man chuckled hoarsely and suppressed the desire that had arisen inadvertently. Just now, he almost could not help but continue. However, Bei Yunj did not notice the dark look in the man's eyes. On the way. Suddenly, a voice sounded in surprise. "Master Pei? Master Pei, what's wrong? You seem to be blushing." Hua Sun happened to meet Bei Yunj and sized her up in disbelief. Bei Yunj hummed indifferently, still thinking about her own matters. But in the next second, Hua Sun was even more curious and quickened his steps to follow behind Bei Yunj. "Master Pei, what's wrong?" Seeing that Hua Sun was about to start nagging, Bei Yunj looked at him with a faint smile. "What? You're not done, are you?" Hua Sun immediately shut up and did not dare to follow her. He only stared fixedly at the person leaving in front of him. However, Qin Youjiao, who happened to see this scene, had a dark glint in her eyes as she walked towards Hua Sun. "Did Yunj say something to you just now? Her tone seems to be quite bad when she talks to you." "Ha! Hasn't she always been like this?" Hua Sun glanced at her and did not notice anything strange. Qin Youjiao's eyes darkened and she said with a smile. "That's true. She's like this. She doesn't seem to take anyone seriously." At this moment, Qin Youjiao looked up and saw Hua Sun still staring at Bei Yunj's back. She could not help calling out, "Hua Sun!" Suddenly, after Hua Sun regained his senses, he could not help sighing. "How arrogant! You're a man." In an instant, Qin Youjiao's expression darkened. Seeing Hua Sun turn to look at her, she had no choice but to force an ugly smile, but her fists were clenched tightly. This trash even said that he would stand up for her back then. In the end, ever since Bei Yunj snatched his money, Hua Sun had been trying to build a good relationship with Bei Yunj. There were many people at the banquet. The instructor, who had always been cold to them, also smiled happily. This made the others feel that the instructor was really happy to send them off today. The guests who participated in the variety show also felt that they had finally endured this hellish training and could perform well at the banquet. Hence, at the closing banquet, the performances of the guests were more eye-catching than the other. Especially after the director borrowed a very good piano, the audience quieted down and listened to her play seriously. Until Qin Youjiao's performance ended, the comment section was filled with comments. What a fairy Qin Yo Jiao. When she plays the piano, her temperament is too good. Yu Jiao is so pretty. That was the best performance of the night. I like it. I have to say, Qin Yo Jiao's performance was very good from beginning to end. Even the instructor said that Qin Yo Jiao was very hardworking. Unlike a certain someone, the instructor didn't even care about her anymore. However, seeing so many comments praising Qin Yo Jiao, some people were not so happy. F***ck, a certain fan is too good at bragging, right? When Bei Yunj was shooting, why was a certain fan as quiet as a chicken? Speaking of which, it's really strange. There's really a problem with Bei Yunj's scenes after that. Best of the night? Brother, you hasn't even started performing and you're already bragging? F***ck, 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 why are people still arguing? Look at the man in the white shirt in the second row. He's so handsome. Is he really not an artiste? Chapter 574. Hearing this, many people furrowed their eyebrows. Not long after, some netizens who felt that it was ridiculous laughed mockingly. They had just typed a line of words and had yet to send it out. Suddenly, a handsome and noble eyebrows flashed across the screen. A few seconds later, someone in the comment section was about to go crazy. Oh, who is this young man? He's too handsome. Woo-woo, Sister Chocho, give me a detailed information. I suddenly want to chase after celebrities. Another godlike face? Does the production team have so much funding? Did they spend money to hire him? Woo-woo, he's really good-looking. I thought he was a tyrant in reality. After a long time, no one in the live stream could tell who the man who had flashed past the screen for only a second was. Some of the netizens, who were so anxious and curious, were about to scratch their ears and cheeks. Where did this man come from? In fact, in that second, even Hua Shidu, who was sitting in the second row, did not even glance over. He only raised his eyebrows slightly. His lazy and carefree attitude was enough to leave a deep impression on others. It inexplicably stirred up one's hormones. However, after that second, no one saw Hua Shidu for more than half an hour. At this moment, after Qin Yu got off the stage, he quickly noticed Hua Shidu and raised his eyebrows in surprise. Then, he got his exclusive cameraman to stop filming and walked in front of Hua Shidu. Master Du, why are you here? Qin Yu sat beside Hua Shidu and asked curiously. To watch your performance. Hua Shidu said slowly. Hearing this, Qin Yu was silent for a long time before he regained his senses. To watch our performance? Qin Yu felt that it was very suspicious. Then, he could not help but look at Bei Yunj, who was in the first row. Looking at the distance between the two of them, he seemed to understand something. Don't tell me you two had a fight? Qin Yu's tone was a little gloating. This made Hua Shidu glance at him carelessly with his pale-colored eyes. After hearing Hua Shidu admit it, Qin Yu's vanity was inexplicably satisfied. Is that so? Actually, you might not know this, but too many things have happened between Gu'er and me during this period of time. I keep feeling that Gu'er and I have become much closer. Qin Yu sighed. Hua Shidu did not intend to expose him either. He only looked at Bei Yunj's back without hiding it. About 5 minutes later, Qin Yu suddenly placed his hand on Hua Shidu's shoulder. This action made Hua Shidu's eyes darken unconsciously and he glanced at Qin Yu leisurely. However, at the thought of Qin Yu's identity, she had to get along with him in the future, so she didn't say much to him. Brothers. Maybe not real brothers. That's how it is. How about this? I'll give you some personal space later, so you can perform well. Qin Yu's tone was filled with pride. Hua Shidu's eyes landed on Qin Yu. He chuckled and replied lazily, Sure. Good luck. Qin Yu patted Hua Shidu's shoulder encouragingly. He had no idea how Hua Shidu had been alone with his Gu'er an hour ago. Master Pei? Master Pei, are you ready? Hua Sun suddenly asked eagerly. Ready for what? Bei Yunj raised an eyebrow and glanced at him. We have a live event. Have you forgotten? Chapter 575. Hearing this, Bei Yunj looked away and continued to fight with Chu Zhixing and the rest. I didn't sign up. Hua Sun was speechless. Look at the program list. Hearing this, Bei Yunj finally noticed that everyone else had a program list in their hands. After regaining her senses, Bei Yunj realized that she might be in the lounge. Bei Yunj was speechless. At this moment, seeing that Bei Yunj was silent, the corners of Hua Sun's mouth twitched and he handed the program list to Bei Yunj. Bei Yunj glanced at it and saw the last column. Question and answer segment. Hosts: Bei Yunj, Hua Sun. Bei Yunj was speechless. Seeing Bei Yunj and Hua Sun go on stage, Yun Nua happened to walk back and sat beside Qin Yojiao. Where did you go just now? Qin Yojiao asked. Yun Nua laughed out loud. Her eyes swept past Bei Yunj, who was in front of her, and she said meaningfully, "Isn't it about to end? Since you're here, you should do something else." With that said, a dark look flashed past Qin Yojiao's eyes. She could guess what Yun Nua had gone to do just now. The corners of her lips curled up. Sit down. Let's continue watching the show. The two of them waited for the show to start. Hua Sun stood in front and received the questions written on the notes by the audience. On Bei Yunj's side, because of the inexplicable pressure, no one dared to give it to her. Why isn't anyone giving it to me? Bei Yunj asked unconsciously. Hua Sun was speechless. Who would dare to give it to you when you haven't "don't touch me" expression? The people below the stage could not hear what Bei Yunj and Hua Sun were talking about, but seeing the two of them looking at each other in silence, they felt inexplicably happy. Ha 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 ha, why do I like Bei Yunj and Hua Sun so much? Don't say, Hua Sun is really good at variety shows. Although Master Pei has the aura of a big boss, when you're on camera with Hua Sun, it feels like you're watching a comedy. Wu Wuj and Sun are a couple. However, although the comments kept flooding the comments, no one thought that someone would personally break their dream of a couple. On the stage, Pei Huashuan gave Bei Yunj 15 notes and kept 15 for herself. The two of them read the contents of the notes one after another. When the questions were asked, the guests would be invited to the stage to interact with each other. If someone asked him a question, he would answer it himself. However, when Hua Sun saw the next few questions in his hand, he unconsciously frowned and a trace of coldness flashed across his eyes. This time, the audience members had all signed a contract, forbidding anyone from being on the stage. But he had at least 3 pieces of paper in his hand, all of which were related to Bei Yunj. Their questions were all extremely harsh. It was obvious that they were targeting Bei Yunj. Hua Sun took a deep breath and put the notes behind him. He asked a few other questions first. When the other guests went on stage to speak, he told Bei Yunj about it. The purpose of these notes was obviously to embarrass Bei Yunj in public. Bei Yunj hid the coldness in her eyes as the corners of her lips curled up into a faint smile. She played with the remaining note in her hand. Yun Nua, who was below the stage, also noticed that Bei Yunj and Hua Sun must be discussing how to solve this problem. She couldn't help but look smug. But who knew? After the guests went on stage and finished speaking, everyone realized that there was a sudden change in the way they interacted. Hua Sun was going to randomly pick someone to go on stage and ask questions. When the audience heard this, they started to talk. Wasn't this depriving them of their rights? But then, just as someone was about to stand up and speak, the people in the second row suddenly stood up. P.S. Good night. Continue tomorrow morning. Good girls, remember to vote. Chapter 576. This stunned Hua Sun for a moment. When he saw the man's appearance clearly, he was even more stunned. Was this man the boyfriend of some guest? Hua Sun had seen all kinds of people and could naturally tell that the man in front of him was not simple. He couldn't be someone's fan, right? At this thought, Hua Sun still maintained his composure. After letting the man come up, he probed. Are you a fan? Hua Shidu glanced at Hua Sun carelessly. His thin eyes were filled with elegance as he replied without looking away. Hearing this, Hua Sun was shocked. A man of this level was King chasing idols. Who was so important? Hua Sun could not help but size up Hua Shidu. The handmade shirt on this person seemed to cost him a month's living expenses. Who are you chasing? Hua Sun blurted out instinctively. On the other hand, the female fans present could not control their girlish hearts and excited screams. Why was Hua Sun so troublesome? They had just fallen in love with a little brother and he wanted their house to collapse so quickly. It had to be said. The moment Hua Shidu stood on the stage, His handsome eyes were filled with indifference and laziness. The sleeves of his white shirt were rolled up loosely under his elbows and his suit pants were too straight, making him look even more refined and dignified. Hua Shidu's eyes swept past him and finally landed on Bei Yunj beside him. The corners of his lips curled up and his low voice sounded. "I'm chasing after the lady beside you." With that said, the fans present were about to explode as screams rose and fell. What kind of sweet public confession was this? Wasn't this too much? A large-scale dog-slaughtering scene. Bei Yunj was speechless. Below the stage, Qin Yu had yet to realize that something was wrong. He only felt that fans nowadays love to imagine things. How was it possible for Guer and Master Du? It was impossible in their next life, let alone their next life. Qin Yu chuckled and continued watching the show with his arms crossed. However, on the other side, Yun Nua's expression changed when she saw that the person on stage was actually Hua Shidu. Why would Master Du come to this place? Could it be? Was it really for Bei Yunj? Last time, at the Qin family's old residence, Yun Nua could tell that Hua Shidu treated Bei Yunj differently. However, she had always thought that it was just a momentary feeling of novelty. After all, Bei Yunj did have the looks to back her up. Why would Master Du come all the way here? Moreover, he didn't mind coming up on stage and being discussed by others. Hua Sun felt that the situation was getting out of hand. The bullet screen was also filled with, "Ah, Ah Wei is dead." Suddenly, Hua Shidu chuckled softly. His lazy voice was extremely seductive. "Miss Pei, will you give me a chance to woo her?" Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows. And this time, the voices of the female fans were deafening and frightening. The comments were even more intense. F*CK, 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 F*CK. Why is this man so good at what I like? Oh, is this little brother flirting with Master Pei? My Master Pei didn't say anything. She didn't say anything. Master Pei has tacitly agreed that they can get married now. Please get married on the spot, okay? The scene was very noisy. Bei Yunj's lips twitched unconsciously. She did not know what this man was trying to do. However, when Hua Sun sensed the strange atmosphere, he immediately smiled. Chapter 577. Come. Then let's continue reading the questions on the note. Hua Sun had just blurted out when he suddenly realized that he had messed up the matter. He had called someone up just now to ask them questions. But now, he was letting others read the note. Wasn't he making things worse? No, let's... Hua Sun was about to change his words when Hua Shidu took the note. He looked down carelessly and opened the note with his slender and well-defined hands. However, after seeing the contents, there was a deep coldness in his eyes, but the audience below the stage did not notice it. Sir, you... Hua Shidu slowly folded the note again. His thin eyelids were half lifted and his gaze landed on Bei Yunj. Suddenly, the man's thin red lips curled up. I have a question for our Miss Pei. Before anyone could react, everyone saw the man staring straight at the bright and beautiful girl in front of him and chuckling softly. His magnetic voice was light and flirtatious. What type of boy do you like? Do you like brother? As soon as he finished speaking, almost all the girls who were chasing after celebrities could not help but scream excitedly. They could not control their young hearts that were about to jump out. F*CK. Brother is so flirtatious. This is the first time I've seen such a good man. Sob, is he a domineering CEO who walked out of the movie? Is there a fanfic? I want to chase after him. Ha, our Master Pei is dumbfounded. She's too cute standing there looking at little brother. Bei Yunj suppressed the inexplicable beating of her heart and glanced at the man in front of her, who still had a natural expression. She suddenly smiled. Brother, I don't fall in love early. With that said, however, the sense of a couple did not decrease. Instead, it increased. Brother, Master Pei means to get married after high school. The president of Qin Yu's fan club was already shouting at the top of his lungs. Everyone on the scene heard it loud and clear. Bei Yunj was speechless. Qin Yu was even more confused and his handsome face did not look too good. Which eye of hers could tell that her Guer liked Master Du? Hua Shidu chuckled and did not speak. He only gestured to her with his eyes. It was as if he was saying, "So you want to get married? Bei Yunj." Wasn't this dog man getting more and more overboard? At this moment, below the stage, Qin Yu finally felt a sense of danger. He felt that something was wrong and immediately went to find the director. "Hurry up and let Hua Sun continue. My sister is only in her second year of high school. What are you guys doing?" It was the director's first time seeing Qin Yu's expression darken. He immediately used the walkie-talkie to speak to Hua Sun. Soon, Hua Sun changed the topic. However, the interaction between Bei Yunj and the mysterious man was still unstoppable and became a hot topic. However, it only took about 20 minutes to completely suppress it. Usually, even if the news was suppressed, there would still be big accounts that were not afraid of death. But now, as long as it was related to Bei Yunj, it was as if the higher-ups had issued some kind of order and deleted it very quickly. The trending searches disappeared. Qin Yu also felt slightly uneasy, afraid that Hua Shidu would really fall in love with his Guer. Hua Shidu was outstanding and even incomparable to his peers. But how old was his Guer? Chapter 578. After leaving the stage, Hua Shidu watched as Bei Yunj left, the smile on his lips disappearing. His originally indifferent and lazy eyes were now filled with an inhuman coldness. "Master Du." Sang Su, who had rushed over, called out carefully. "Go and investigate. If you can't, I'll put the blame on you." Hua Shidu placed the note on the table beside him, his voice cold. The moment he finished speaking, he saw Qin Yu walking over. "Master Du, I have something to tell you." Qin Yu's expression was dark. Hua Shidu glanced at him slowly and said to Tsang Su, "Go and investigate first." "Okay." After Tsang Su left, Qin Yu saw that there was only him and Hua Shidu present. He gritted his teeth and asked, "Have you taken a fancy to my sister?" Instead, Hua Shidu's lips curved. There was no panic on his face and his tone was still light. "Why do you ask? I keep feeling that there's something wrong with your question just now." Qin Yu's ink-like handsome eyes were filled with seriousness. However, after Hua Shidu glanced at him, he only laughed casually. He asked, "Are you wooing your sister?" "Yes. She's still a high school student. Can I do it?" The man's well-defined hand took out a cigarette from the cigarette box carelessly. The way he bit the cigarette was exceptionally lustful. The white smoke curled up and the half-hidden emotions in the man's eyes could not be seen. Hearing this, Qin Yu suddenly realized something. Yes, Master Du was not such a person. However, Qin Yu was still cautious. "Really?" Hua Shidu's thin lips curled up and he answered without any psychological pressure. "Bookstore." So, Qin Yu finally heaved a sigh of relief. He knew it. Why would Master Du do such a thing? After that, Bei Yunj wanted to find a hotel nearby, but she suddenly received a call from Tich. After chatting for a while, Bei Yunj decided to meet Tich at the hotel address he had booked. In the hotel lobby, Bei Yunj had just entered when she sat on the sofa in the waiting area. She glanced at her watch and calculated the time. However, at this time, a waiter hurried over and said with a smile, "Miss, we won't be entertaining guests after 10 o'clock today. If you want to stay here, you have to book a room first." Bei Yunj's eyebrows twitched, but she felt that this hotel was not bad, so she nodded and followed the waiter to the front desk to register. When Bei Yunj took off her hat and mask and revealed her face, the waiters who met Bei Yunj's eyes were all stunned. Wasn't this girl too good-looking? After Bei Yunj checked all the information, she narrowed her eyes and wrote the registration form with a pen in her slender, fair hand. Her lazy eyes were bright and lazy. "Is that enough?" Only then did the waiter react. He immediately nodded vigorously. "Yes, yes. Thank you." Bei Yunj took the room card and walked to the lounge. Another waiter said softly, "She's probably here to try her luck." "This doesn't feel like it." She booked a presidential suite and swiped her card without even blinking. The waiter who had just received Bei Yunj spoke up for Bei Yunj. After all, although many young models and internet celebrities had come to stay with them today, most of them asked about the price of the top-floor suite in their hotel and did not say anything else. Those two rich second-generation heirs naturally stayed on the highest floor. If others wanted to get close to such people, they naturally wanted to get as close as possible. Chapter 579. However, this made sense. Who didn't want to marry into a wealthy family? Moreover, those two rich second-generation heirs weren't ordinary second-generation heirs, but the top second-generation heirs of our nation. That girl looked like that and had indeed grasped a man's weakness. Thinking of this, the waiter felt jealous, but he didn't say anything that didn't suit his status. However, at this moment, other than the waiter, there were also people in the corridor on the second floor looking at Bei Yunj downstairs. They had the same thoughts as the waiter. Miss Yen, that woman is probably after young Master Tich. A beautiful woman beside her said with a mean look in her eyes. At Tich's age, there are indeed a lot of girls throwing themselves at him. The person called Miss Yen was wearing a cheongsam and had a graceful figure. However, in the next moment, her voice was filled with natural arrogance as she slowly walked downstairs. But how can such a woman be worthy of Tich? The beautiful woman glanced at her and hid the sarcasm in her eyes. Didn't Yen Harue climb into Delaney's bed like this back then? She slept with a man who was older than her at the age of 21, and always treated herself as the main wife. But it was good. With this woman, she would have less trouble. Lin Chenyi followed Yen Harue's footsteps and watched as Yen Harue stopped in front of Bei Yunj and sized up Bei Yunj arrogantly. "What's your name?" When Bei Yunj heard this, her eyebrows moved without batting an eyelid. She glanced at the woman in front of her, who was dressed like a nouveau riche. "What's the matter?" Bei Yunj's voice was lazy and indifferent, and her gaze didn't linger on her. When Yen Harue saw that Bei Yunj's table had a presidential suite card and that the clothes she was wearing looked like a high-end foreign brand, she couldn't help but feel an indescribable jealousy. Everything she had now was given to her by the man she had spent so much effort to hook up with. But the girl in front of her was obviously not. Yen Harue narrowed her eyes and laughed again. She sat opposite Bei Yunj and crossed her legs, revealing the snow-white skin on her thighs. "Which family are you from?" Now, Yen Harue treated Bei Yunj as a young lady with a decent family background. However, he would still have to be like her, hooking up with the super rich. At the same time, Bei Yunj could not help but frown when she saw the message that Tich had sent her, saying that he would definitely arrive within 10 minutes. So why was he looking for her in the middle of the night? Bei Yunj suppressed her impatience and sent another message to Tich. However, when this scene landed in Yen Harue's eyes, it was undisguised contempt. Yen Harue's expression changed and she sneered. "Are you pretending to be so virtuous? Then who are you waiting for in the middle of the night?" As soon as he finished speaking, Bei Yunj's eyes gradually turned cold, but her moist red lips curled up slightly. She looked at her with a faint smile, looking cold and ruthless. "Why are you talking so much? Do you think your days are too long?" Yen Harue accidentally met Bei Yunj's eyes and felt her scalp go numb. But when she came back to her senses, she felt that she had lost face. She stood up in exasperation. "Who do you think you are? How dare you talk to me like that? Waiting for someone?" Chapter 580. At this moment, Tich, who was speeding over on his motorcycle, suddenly sneezed. Delaney, who was behind him, immediately covered his mouth and nose, as if a virus had passed through him. "Can't you tell me this in advance?" Tich's eyelids twitched. "You were the one who heard about my teacher and suddenly shamelessly wanted to see her." "I said you sneezed. What if I catch a cold?" Delaney said self-righteously. Tich was speechless. Most fathers would be afraid that their children would catch a cold when they saw them sneeze, right? All of a sudden, Tich wanted to turn around and send this person back. But thinking that Bei Yunj was still waiting for him, he endured it. A few minutes later, the moment Tich brought Delaney in, he saw a beauty who was crying so hard that she bumped into his arms. Seeing this, Tich frowned and dodged to the side. At this moment, Yen Harue realized that she had almost thrown herself at the wrong person. Her face was green and red. Then, she ran in front of Delaney and hugged his waist intimately. It had to be said that although Delaney was in his 40s or 50s, he only looked like he was in his early 30s. His figure was still perfect and capable. Even in her 40s or 50s, Yen Harue did not lose out much. "Darling, a woman hit me just now because I said a few more words." Delaney had always been protective of the fairer sex. Seeing that Yen Harue's face was indeed red, he could not help but touch her face. He comforted her. "You're not disfigured. Don't worry." Yen Harue's face froze, then she said coquettishly, "You said you loved me last time, but now you don't feel sorry for me at all." Hearing this, Delaney realized that Yen Harue was beating around the bush to get him to help her vent her anger. Delaney agreed. Bring me to take a look at the situation first. If that woman really went overboard, he would naturally protect Yen Harue. After all, Yen Harue was his woman, although she was just his new girlfriend. However, Tich was disdainful when he saw this scene. Yen Harue was the one who thought the most. She thought that Delaney would marry her and treat her as a junior. What a joke. Who didn't know that Delaney's girlfriend wouldn't last more than 3 months? At the thought of this, Tich felt that this woman had embarrassed his teacher. They grew up in the same place, but he couldn't even compare to a strand of his teacher's hair. Thinking of this, Tich couldn't be bothered to deal with the two of them. He simply went to look for Bei Yunj. Tich's eyes lit up when he saw the figure in the living room. He immediately walked over to Bei Yunj and greeted her cautiously. Bei Yunj glanced at him casually. He didn't seem to be in high spirits either. Teacher, you don't seem to be in a good mood today. Tich probed carefully. Could it be that he had been sitting here for too long and was angry with her? At this moment, Lin Chenyi's eyes lit up when she saw Yen Harue's message. She planned to look for Tich. She didn't expect Tich to be sitting next to Bei Yunj. They looked very close. Lin Chenyi's expression immediately changed. Did this woman really hook up with Tich? After a long time, Lin Chenyi finally snapped out of her daze. She gritted her teeth and sent Yen Harue a text. When Yen Harue saw this text message, she was also furious. How could a woman be so scheming? Tich had only been in there for a short while, and she had already hooked up with him. Yen Harue sneered. She didn't even see if she was worthy. Chapter 581. What's wrong, my dear? Delaney was still a little patient with his female companion. My dear, that woman seems to have designs on Tich. Yen Harue bit her lip and said coquettishly. Delaney paused when he heard that. He did not expect Tich to have such a market these days. Then, before Delaney could finish, Yen Harue pulled him back and refused to let him go. You said you would help me deal with her. When did he say such a thing? However, Delaney still maintained the silence of a big shot. After thinking for a while, he nodded reservedly and brought Yen Harue in. Seeing this, Yen Harue smiled through her tears. On the other side, Bei Yunj sat downstairs drinking water. Tich, who was beside her, threw her a math problem from time to time, trying to divert Bei Yunj's attention and change her mood. However, Bei Yunj could not help but take another look at Tich. Tich. When Tich heard Bei Yunj suddenly call his name, he thought that his teacher had a whole new level of respect for him because he solved the problem too quickly. What's wrong? Tich suppressed his pounding heart. Unexpectedly, Bei Yunj only looked at him with a complicated expression. You're so bad at math. There will be limitations when you learn computer science in the future. Tich was speechless. Fine. He was thinking too much. The thought of his teacher being nominated for both Farisk and Busaka at such a young age, and even solving 1,000 questions made him doubt his life. How could someone be so smart? Tich didn't know that when he shone in school, his classmates also thought the same way. However, when Tich thought that such a powerful person was his teacher, he started to get excited again. He asked shyly, Teacher, what do you think of me? Bei Yunj continued to dig into the cake with her fork without looking up. What? Just, when do you think I can win a Busaka prize? Tich immediately said. Bei Yunj stopped eating the cake and was silent for a long time. Tich, I'm glad that you know how to improve yourself. Before Tich could rejoice, he heard Bei Yunj say, but don't make things difficult for me. Tich. Study hard. You'll get everything you want. Bei Yunj was probably afraid that Tich would be frustrated, so she added, I'll try my best to get you on the right track as soon as possible. Bei Yunj thought that Tich was hinting for her to teach faster. But with Tich and Jasmine's level, she would have to lay down the foundation for them for at least a few years. Tich did not expect that in Bei Yunj's eyes. He had not even entered the right path of his profession. After that, just as Tich was unable to recover from the blow, he suddenly heard a harsh and familiar voice. Honey, look, it's this woman. How dare she hit me? Tich frowned. He looked up and saw Yen Harue's pretentious look. He narrowed his eyes and sneered. Miss Yen, who are you complaining about? Honey, look, Tich has only interacted with this woman for a while, and he's already helping her. Yen Harue bit her lip, but her eyes were filled with viciousness. She had to make this woman pay the price. However, Yen Harue did not notice that Delaney's gaze was also on the person sitting on the sofa. He looked at this familiar face and suppressed his inexplicable excitement. He was also a little afraid of disturbing Bei Yunj. Delaney probed carefully. What? Teacher Pei? Love house? Bei Yunj only looked up when she heard the familiar voice. When she saw Delaney, she could not help but frown. Why are you here? Delaney's excited smile froze. What should he say? Should he say that he forced Tich to help him ask her out because she had been ignoring him? I think the scenery here is not bad. As soon as Delaney finished speaking, the woman beside him still could not see the situation clearly. Yen Harue widened her eyes and said unhappily, Honey, didn't you say you would help me teach her a lesson? Why are you? Shut up. Delaney's eyelids twitched in fright. Teach her a lesson? Did he not want to work in the company anymore? Was that why he wanted to teach the god of fortune that he had painstakingly relied on his son to get close to? Delaney. Yen Harue could not believe that Delaney would treat her like this. Then, Delaney pulled Yen Harue's hand away from his and walked towards Bei Yunj to pour some tea for Bei Yunj. Teacher Pei, I really didn't expect to have the chance to see you. Bei Yunj also looked at him. I didn't expect this either. Delaney's heart ached. This was the first time he met someone who could not even be bothered to lie to him. So, Bei Yunj really did not plan to see him? Is this your girlfriend? At this moment, Bei Yunj looked up and suddenly asked casually. Delaney froze. This? He really did not expect Yen Harue to be so bold as to provoke Bei Yunj. I did hit her. Bei Yunj said unhurriedly. Tich, who was beside him, looked down and did not intend to interfere at all. Anyway, when it came to his teacher, his father was more cowardly than anyone else. It had to be said that Tich knew Delaney very well. Honey, look. She really attacked me. Yen Harue still refused to give up. She did not have any foresight at all. Delaney's expression did not look too good either. He did not expect a woman to be so stupid. Miss Yen, you can leave now. He would definitely side with Bei Yunj. However, he also knew Bei Yunj's personality very well. If she had not provoked him, Bei Yunj would not have looked at Yen Harue. Delaney, are you breaking up with me? Yen Harue's eyes immediately turned red. Lin Qianni, who had walked down from upstairs, originally wanted to see Yen Harue deal with Bei Yunj, but she did not expect to hear that Yen Harue was going to be broken up in public. Lin Qianni froze and instinctively looked at the few people not far away. I don't need a female companion who sows discord. Delaney said coldly. He did not even admit that he had a girlfriend. Yen Harue's face turned pale and her mind was in a mess. She did not expect Delaney to break up with her because of this. At this moment, Yen Harue then realized that Delaney had been calling this person teacher. A person who Delaney called teacher. She originally thought that it might be someone who had taught Tich before. But on second thought, Tich was a few years older than this girl. If this was Tich's teacher, it would be too unbelievable. Moreover, Tich was a student of Neely University. Chapter 582. When Bei Yunj heard this, she immediately understood why Tich had asked her out at this time. She glanced at Tich and did not say anything. She did not mind satisfying her student's little thoughts. Not long after, Tich heard the person beside him say lazily, Next time, you can be more direct with me. She might not reject him. It was just that she was too lazy to socialize and maintain interpersonal relationships. Tich was stunned when he heard this. Then, complicated and touched emotions rose in his heart and his face heated up. Teacher, I'm sorry. He thought that with Bei Yunj's personality, she would definitely be angry or ask him to change his mentor. He did not expect Bei Yunj to say this. I'll get you more cake. Tich saw that Bei Yunj was about to finish the cake in her hands, so he stood up diligently and ran to the restaurant at the back. At this moment, only Delaney and the others were left. Delaney looked up and met Bei Yunj's eyes. Miss Pei. Delaney, I was wrong. I didn't know she knew you. Yen Harue interrupted Delaney and finally reacted. She realized that this person was not to be trifled with. However, Delaney, who was afraid of offending Bei Yunj, could not reconcile with this woman. Delaney took out a check and gave it to Yen Harue. Sorry, we're not suitable for each other. Yen Harue's face was pale. She could not help but look at Bei Yunj, feeling indignant. Was Delaney going to break up with her just because she was a teacher? However, she could clearly tell that Delaney's attitude towards her was very careful. Even Titch's attitude towards this girl did not seem like he had feelings for his sweetheart. Instead, there was an inexplicable respect. When Delaney and Bei Yunj went to the conference room on the second floor to discuss matters, Yen Harue was still unwilling to leave. How could she give up on the sugar daddy that she had painstakingly hooked up with? However, because Delaney's bodyguard stopped her, she could not get close. She could only wait downstairs with a breakdown. How could this be? When Yen Harue thought of what Bei Yunj had said to her just now, her face turned even paler. This girl was really waiting for someone. She was waiting for Titch and the others. However, she thought that this girl was trying to cling to the rich and powerful, so she kept ridiculing her to find a sense of accomplishment. Now it's all good. In the end, she had offended someone she shouldn't have offended, and all her efforts were in vain. Second floor. Miss Pei, she has offended you. In the future, I won't use her for anything related to the company. Don't worry. Yen Harue was a C-list artiste. Recently, because of Delaney, she had received a lot of resources and became a familiar face on the screen. But now, Delaney did not have the courage to continue supporting Yen Harue. There was a reason why Delaney was popular with women in the circle. He doted on women and was generous. Even if they broke up, he would still miss their old relationship. But this time it was clearly different. Mr. Delaney, you won't gain anything by doing this. Bei Yunj said leisurely without hiding anything. Since Delaney had such plans, she would not plead for Yen Harue. Whatever he wanted to do had nothing to do with her. She would not put in effort on unimportant people. She had gotten back what she wanted. Of course I understand. Delaney felt his teeth ache, but fortunately, he already knew that this person was difficult to please. Are you looking for me because of the project? I've already handed it to Marcus. Bei Yunj said unhurriedly. It's our first time meeting, so I should congratulate you first. Congratulations to Miss Pei for being nominated for 2 awards this year. Delaney smiled with a rosy face, looking very happy. Back then, it was his discerning eyes that had discovered Bei Yunj's potential. As a matter of fact, in everyone's eyes, the first project was taken by him. However, when he thought of the girl's age, his scalp turned numb. She was not even 20 years old. In the future, if Bei Yunj grew up, Country A's computing field would definitely be an unprecedented scene. At the thought of this, Delaney felt that Jones, who had been fired after a month, should be dragged out and shot. It would be more worth the loss of Country R. There's no need to say anything nice. What's the matter? Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows and asked. Actually, Delaney looked at Bei Yunj and blurted out, I want to ask about Titch. Bei Yunj paused and looked at Delaney. She thought that Delaney was here for her new project. After all, she could tell that Delaney was an absolutely mature businessman. I know that you want to stay in Yuncheng to develop. To you, Titch is just an intern at Country R's Computing Institute. But as Titch's father, I want to ask you if there's still a chance for you to continue taking care of Titch? It's fine even if Titch stays in Yuncheng. Delaney had already discussed this matter with Marcus. If Titch had the ability to follow Bei Yunj, his future would definitely be limitless. Just because of this? There was no emotion on Bei Yunj's face as she asked casually. Delaney was a little nervous. After all, his ex-girlfriend had just offended Bei Yunj. Yes. If they're willing to learn, there's nothing I can't do. Hearing Bei Yunj's words, Delaney was very touched. Then he heard her say, although their aptitude is a little lacking, hard work can make up for it. Delaney said, You're right. He had heard about it before. Bei Yunj was very popular in Country R's Computing Institute, and all the interns chose to let Bei Yunj teach a class. In the end, after that, no one dared to let Bei Yunj teach a class. Only Titch and Jasmine, who had some kind of self-torture mentality, became braver the more they were defeated. So you mean you agree? Delaney asked carefully again. Bei Yunj thought for a moment. Let's wait for them to graduate before coming to Yuncheng. I'll talk to Marcus and let the two of them stay in their institute for a while. Okay, I'll listen to you. Delaney nodded repeatedly. Bei Yunj looked at him for a while and laughed. I thought you wanted to talk to me about the new project. I did. Delaney was a little helpless. But ever since you left Country R's Computing Institute, Titch has been quite nervous. He was afraid that you would leave, so he didn't bring him along. No wonder the reports have been submitted so quickly recently. Bei Yunj nodded. Delaney was speechless. All right, I'm going upstairs to rest. You can talk to the manager of the Computing Institute about the new project. With that, Bei Yunj went upstairs. At this moment, Delaney turned around and saw his son's touched face. Dad! Goosebumps rose all over Delaney's body. Why is this troublesome thing here? P.S. There's more. Chapter 583. Upstairs. Bei Yunj had just finished showering when she saw the messages the two of them had sent her. After replying, she called Hua Shidu again before preparing to rest. At this moment, downstairs, the man had just arrived at the lobby and attracted the attention of the two ladies at the front desk. She originally thought that Titch and Jasmine, who had come in the past 2 days, were enough to shock people with their looks. In the end, this man in front of her completely matched their standards of beauty. Suite K1209's room card. Sang-soo walked forward and said familiarly. Hearing this, the lady at the front desk froze. A room card that started with K12. This was reserved for people in President Yu's circle. She had always heard that K1201 was reserved for President Yu and K1209 was reserved for that person from the Hua family. At this thought, the lady at the front desk did not dare to breathe too loudly. After verifying his identity, she immediately brought him to the 12th floor. In the elevator, Sang-soo hurriedly tore off Bei Yunj's dining habits from his small notebook and handed it to the lady at the front desk as he said with a smile. The guest from 1205. Please prepare for tomorrow morning's meal. Okay. The lady at the front desk nodded immediately, but her heart was surging. Wasn't the guest from 1205 the young lady from just now? It's been hard on you. Our young lady doesn't stay outside much. I'm afraid she won't be used to it. Sang-soo smiled. It's not hard at all. From Sang-soo's address and attitude towards that young lady, the lady at the front desk could tell that that young lady did not have a shameful identity. She was simply a pampered young lady from a wealthy family. Until they entered the study of the suite, Sang-soo finally spoke. Master Du, we've found out about Miss Pei. The person who did this is Miss Yun Nuo. The Yun family had nothing to do with the Hua family, but they had always been on good terms with the Qin family. Miss Qin Yojiao was probably the reason why they could do this. Seeing that Hua Shidu did not speak, Sang-soo asked carefully, then should we arrange something? Sang-soo was a little uncertain. After all, Hua Shidu and Yun Nuo knew each other because of Qin Yu. However, Bei Yunj's position in Hua Shidu's heart was even more obvious. Soon, Hua Shidu lit a cigarette and leaned against the chair lazily. His handsome eyes were cold and abstinent. His voice was low and indifferent, but it was unreasonable. If the Yun family can't teach their daughter how to behave, then let someone teach the Yun family how to behave. Sang-soo's body stiffened when he heard this. Who would have thought that Master Du would directly make a move on the Yun family because of this matter? He didn't care about their previous nodding acquaintance. Then about Miss Yun Nuo? Sang-soo asked carefully. In the future, I don't want her to have any chance to meet my child again. The man's tone was casual. However, Sang-soo understood Hua Shidu's intentions. He wanted Promise Yun to leave the industry. Sang-soo nodded and smiled. Yes, I know what to do. Since they dared to touch their young miss, they should be taught a lesson. At noon the next day, all the major media outlets fought to report about how the female star Yun Nuo relied on her family background, faked her academic qualifications, and bullied others in high school. When Promise Yun saw the news, he panicked and immediately realized who was behind it. Nuo, quickly contact your father. The company's public relations can't suppress the popularity at all, and those media outlets refuse to delete it. Under the urging of her manager, she hurriedly made a call and cried. Dad, save me. Yun Nuo, something happened at the company. Your brother was taken away by the police. The middle-aged man's voice was hoarse. Chapter 584. Yun felt as if all the blood in her body had turned cold. What's wrong, Dad? What on earth happened? Yun forced herself to ask rationally. We don't know either. The Yun family was suddenly investigated by the higher-ups. Also, your brother has been detained because of what happened at the company. Yun father took a deep breath. I'm still thinking of a way to get your brother out. Don't cause trouble. With that said, Yun father hung up. Yun did not dare to imagine that that person would be so ruthless for Bei Yunja's sake. He would not even let the Yun family off. Thinking of this, Yun gritted her teeth and called Sang-Soo. Fortunately, Sang-Soo did not block her number. However, from Sang-Soo's voice, it was obvious that he knew that she would come looking for him. Miss Yun, what's the matter? Sang-Soo asked with a smile. Was Master Du behind what happened to my family? Yun voice was trembling. Sang-Soo did not answer. Instead, he smiled and said, Were you behind Miss Pei's matter? As soon as he finished speaking, Yun scalp went numb. It was really for Bei Yunj. You did this just for Bei Yunj. Was it Bei Yunj who told Master Du that I was the one who did it? Yun voice was a little crazy and her eyes were red. How could she not compare to that girl who came back from the slums? Miss Pei, Master Du will investigate too. Everyone who has designs on Miss Pei will not be able to escape. Sang-Soo smiled. After all, Miss Pei is the person in Master Du's heart. As soon as she returned home, Bei Yunj was informed by Auntie Miao that something seemed to have happened to Hua Shidu and he had to go abroad for a few days. Although Hua Shidu would text Bei Yunj every day. For some reason, Bei Yunj had a vague feeling that something had happened. A few days later, in the evening, a girlesque bar. Bei Yunj lowered the brim of her hat and scanned the people around her. She found a boy in a black t-shirt not far away. Lu Yuanci. Bei Yunj's tone was not very friendly. You're here, Master Pei. How are your teeth now? Lu Yuanci stood up and asked with a smile. Bei Yunj. Yunj, let's go to the private room. Chu Zhixing was there too. It was obvious that this was to make up for the previous birthday party. Let's go before 9:30. Bei Yunj suppressed his twitching eyebrows and glanced at the two of them leisurely. 9:30? Isn't it too early? Lu Yuanci frowned. There's a curfew at home. Bei Yunj laughed lazily. Subsequently, just as everyone was about to leave, they suddenly heard a shout not far away. This attracted their attention. Everyone looked over and saw a table of people making things difficult for the two waiters. Is it so difficult for you to have a few drinks? I didn't ask you to sleep with me. The man was wearing a suit, but his mouth was saying extremely obscene words. When Lu Yuanci and the other boys heard this, they unconsciously frowned. Although this kind of thing was extremely common in such a place where fish and dragons mix together. Sorry, my friend can't drink. Another slightly cold female voice sounded, but it attracted Bei Yunja's attention. She turned around and found that one of the girls who was protecting the waitress whose chest was drenched was Song Yao. Bei Yunj frowned. Then before Lu Yuanci and the rest could react, they saw Bei Yunj walking over. On the sofa. Chapter 585. After you drink this wine, I'll let your friend go. That man stared at Song Yao unabashedly, his eyes full of lust. This scene was noticed by many people. However, when the people who originally wanted to help the two waiters saw a handsome man in a black silk shirt with curly hair sitting opposite them, they gave up on this idea. It was Fu Yanbai, the young master of the Fu Corporation. Don't embarrass me, Miss Song. Could it be that you and your friend don't want to work here anymore? The man smiled maliciously. Even though Song Yao's work pass was a fake name, he still called her Miss Song. It was obvious that they were old acquaintances. Song Yao pursed her lips and felt Fu Yanbai's gaze on her. The corners of her lips twitched slightly. Then she reached for the wine on the table. But in the next second, her other slender hand picked up the wine glass even faster. Her clear and lazy voice sounded lazily. I'm sorry she can't drink. I'll drink this wine for Yao Yao. With that said, Bei Yunj took the wine on the table and drank it in one gulp. Song Yao was stunned by this scene. Yunj, why are you here? Bei Yunj glanced at her. It was obvious that she did not want to talk to her right now. At this moment, the man stood up suddenly and his expression changed. Who are you? Do you know? Just as Bei Yunj turned around and saw Bei Yunj's face clearly, the man was dazed. He thought that the elder young miss of the Song family was unforgettable enough. However, this person in front of him could be said to be stunning. Even Yu Ling, whom Fu Yanbai was deeply in love with back then, could not compare to her. So you're Miss Song's friend. The man immediately revealed an even more malicious smile and poured a glass of wine for Bei Yunj with a smile. Since we're friends, of course we have to drink more. Hearing this, behind them, Lu Yuanxi and Chu Zhixing frowned and their eyes turned cold. Yunj, don't worry. Song Yao bit her lip. She knew that Fu Yanbai was deliberately making things difficult for her and did not want Bei Yunj to get involved. Suddenly, Bei Yunj held her hand and chuckled. Why don't you drink more? Before the man could react, Bei Yunj picked up the wine glass on the table. Before anyone could react, the wine was poured over his head. The man was so drenched that he shivered and did not come back to his senses for a moment. The next moment, he heard her chuckle. How is it? Are you sober now? How dare you treat me like this? The man was furious. He wiped his face and looked at Bei Yunj in disbelief. She wished she could skin Bei Yunj alive. This scene stunned Song Yao completely. She stood rooted to the ground in a daze and forgot to pull Bei Yunj. The first cup is to give you face. The second cup is to remind you to save your face and get lost. Do you understand, everyone? Bei Yunj looked at him with a faint smile. He slowly put down the wine glass, but the coldness in his eyes was terrifying. It made everyone present feel inexplicably shocked. It seems like Miss Pei's temper has always been bad. Suddenly, Fu Yanbai, who had been silent all this while, spoke. You're really courting death. You even dare to interfere in young Master Fu's matters? The man wiped his face with a tissue and said fiercely to Bei Yunj. He hoped that Fu Yanbai would quickly teach this reckless little bee *tch a lesson. So it's young Master Fu. I'm sorry. My deskmate has a bad temper. Lu Yuanxi walked over from the side and stood beside Bei Yunj. He had a hand in his pocket and smiled casually. Chapter 586. He's the young master of the Lu family? The people around Fu Yanbai immediately recognized Lu Yuanxi. Then, Chu Zhixing also came over and spoke elegantly. President Fu, I'm sorry to have disturbed your mood. With that said, the people behind Fu Yanbai widened their eyes. This is the second young master of the Chu family? Why were all the people around this girl so important? Why, are you her deskmate too? Fu Yanbai stared at Chu Zhixing for a while and asked. The Chu family and the Fu family had a relationship. No, but that's our Master Pei. Chu Zhixing chuckled. It was obvious. Both of them were protecting Bei Yunj. After a long time, Fu Yanbai's gaze shifted to Bei Yunj. He smiled as well, his eyes burning. You're very capable. Can anyone become your helper if you want? But the way he looked at her seemed to be looking at another person through her. He wanted this girl. However, the troublesome thing was that he could not offend that person from the Hua family. Song Yao grabbed Bei Yunj's hand and looked at Fu Yanbai warily. How could she not tell that Fu Yanbai's attitude towards Bei Yunj was very different? Young Master Fu, the Fu family can't withstand the torment. Do you need help? Bei Yunj chuckled, her beautiful eyes filled with arrogance and hostility. With that said, the people around Fu Yanbai could not help but look at Bei Yunj. They felt that Bei Yunj was bold and curious about her. Did this woman know what status the Fu family had? She was so happy. She dared to say such words. The Qin family is at its peak now, but it doesn't mean that they can touch the Fu family. As for that person from the Hua family, do you think he will deal with the Fu family for you? Fu Yanbai smiled. Young Master Fu, you're so confident. Why don't you think about why you can't get the 11 project? Bei Yunj asked with a smile. When Fu Yanbai heard this, the calmness on his face disappeared and his eyes darkened. How did she know about the 11 project? Did Hua Shidu tell her? The Qin family was not involved in any technology projects, so it was almost impossible for them to know that the Fu family was talking about the 11 project. This was the right to use a regional project that the Fu Corporation had bought from the Delaney Group. It was the first project of the researchers who had obtained Busaka and Ferisk some time ago. Apart from the Fu's enterprise, there were also other companies in a land vying for this piece of juicy meat. However, Delaney was the first to reject the Fu Corporation. Even the reason was very perfunctory and puzzling. How do you know about the 11 project? I thought you would ask me why I couldn't get the 11 project. Bei Yunji's bright eyes curved into crescents, looking lazy and arrogant. After saying this, she pulled Song Yao and left the hall on the first floor. Everyone else was silent. For a moment, the atmosphere was a little cold. Originally, he had come to take care of Song Yao today as a routine, but he did not expect an accident. Young Master Fu about Song Yao. At this moment, the boss of the bar ran over, his back covered in sweat. He couldn't afford to offend Fu Yenbai, but he couldn't afford to offend the Chu and Lu families either. They were really making things difficult for him. A businessman. I won't let her off. Fu Yenbai's voice was cold. If it wasn't for Song Yao, Yu Ling wouldn't have jumped into the sea to commit suicide. Master Pei, why are you smashing someone's place just because of a disagreement? Chapter 587. It was Chu Zhixing's first time seeing someone scold Fu Yenbai like that. He did not know how Fu Yenbai had offended Master Pei. I gave him face but he didn't want it. After Bei Yunji finished speaking slowly, he turned to glance at Song Yao. What's wrong with you? The adventures of a silly work girl? Song Yao said. No, it's just that my family isn't very well off. Bei Yunji did not notice at first. After all, Song Yao's aura did not seem like a girl from an ordinary family. Did something happen at home? After Bei Yunji brought her into the private room, he let go of her and pulled off the work pass on her chest. He took off his coat and put it on her. I'm bankrupt. Song Yao nodded. She looked gentle and calm. Lu Yuanxi could not help laughing. Master Pei, can you not be so fierce to girls? Bei Yunji glanced at him. I'll go get the wine. Lu Yuanxi immediately turned and left. Don't drink. I'll get Lu Yuanxi to send you back later. Bei Yunji glanced at Song Yao and smiled lazily. After all, I'm a girl. It's not safe for me. Lu Yuanxi was speechless. You're King afraid of being unsafe? Was he the one who poured wine on someone's head at the table just now? Song Yao could not help but laugh. I can go back myself. Nothing happened. I'll send you back. My desk mate is my friend. With that said, Lu Yuanxi opened the door and went out. Meanwhile, Chu Zhixing and the other students were playing in the private room. At this moment, Song Yao roughly told Bei Yunji about what had happened at home. Because Song Yao had offended Fu Yenbai had used the Fu Corporation to make the Song Corporation bankrupt. Song Yao's father could not bear the burden and committed suicide, leaving her and her mother to live together. However, perhaps because Fu Yenbai felt that this was not enough, he forced her to work in a bar. He would come and find trouble with her a few times a month. Actually, the reason why I'm restudying is not because of anything else. At that time, I had already received the acceptance letter from Jin University, but because of Fu Yenbai, I was disqualified. Song Yao said calmly without any resentment. Jin University's admission scores for the past 2 years were not much different from Yun University's. Because of Yu Ling, a woman he likes, Song Yao said. Bei Yunji frowned and looked at her. Yu Ling. Previously, she had heard Hua Shidu talk about this person. Yes, we're classmates. When she was in her second year of high school, she started chasing Fu Yenbai. The two of them often quarreled because of the difference in status. Song Yao said with a smile. Yu Ling always felt that Fu Yenbai didn't respect her, and she knew that I used to like Fu Yenbai too, so she often came over to ask me to be with Fu Yenbai after quarreling. Almost every time they quarreled, she would hear Fu Yenbai say in front of Yu Ling and everyone else that he didn't like her and coax Yu Ling. She was a socialite who had been pampered since she was young, but she couldn't compare to Yu Ling. Song Yao took a deep breath. However, there's indeed something wrong with Fu Yenbai. After finding out about Yu Ling's existence from the Fu family, old Master Fu didn't agree to let Yu Ling in. On the other hand, Yu Ling was proud and wanted to leave when she threw a tantrum, but Fu Yenbai imprisoned her in his house. In order to coax Yu Ling, Fu Yenbai asked me to talk to her. Chapter 588. Did she fall in accidentally? Bei Yunji raised an eyebrow. The rumors outside were that she had committed suicide. A person like her won't commit suicide. She knows very well that Fu Yenbai dotes on her. As long as she makes a fuss, Fu Yanbai will give her everything. Song Yao smiled. No matter how sick Fu Yanbai's feelings for Yu Ling were, Yu Ling was still able to handle him. She knew that only Fu Yanbai could give her what she wanted. You're not friends with her, right? Bei Yunj glanced at her. Song Yao nodded hesitantly, but she pinched the corner of her skirt unconsciously. This was the first time someone had said this. As for the others, they always thought that she had a good relationship with Yu Ling. But no, it was never like that. Silly girl. Bei Yunj smirked unconsciously and poked Song Yao's head with her index finger. But no one will find trouble with their friends time and time again. I've never liked her. Song Yao did not hide her feelings for Yu Ling at all. Do I look like her? Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows. If they were really that alike, why did Song Yao treat her so well the moment they met? As a result, Bei Yunj had always wondered if this girl was stupid. Do we look alike? Song Yao looked at Bei Yunj and shook her head. I don't think so. She liked Bei Yunj because Bei Yunj was good-looking. She looked like the ragdoll cat she had raised before when she was half asleep on the table. Hearing this, Bei Yunj lost interest in Fu Yanbai and his wife. How much money does your family owe? Bei Yunj asked. I know you're very good, but I shouldn't trouble you. Song Yao had a bottom line in her heart. There were some things that she shouldn't trouble her friends with. Bei Yunj took out a card and stuffed it into Song Yao's pocket. She said slowly, "Then you can sell yourself to me. You can work and go to school at the same time. Do you want to participate in the competition?" But I owe a lot. Song Yao couldn't even look up and didn't dare to look at Bei Yunj. There's 100 million in this card. If you think it's not enough, I'll bring another card tomorrow. Song Yao was speechless. Had she been away from the rich for too long? The pocket money of the rich and powerful nowadays was measured in hundreds of millions. In the past, she only had a few 100,000 yuan in pocket money a month. I can't take this money. Song Yao returned the card to Bei Yunj. I didn't say that you can't pay me back. The winner of the world championship gets 300,000 yuan, Bei Yunj said. Song Yao asked, You're not participating? Yes. Bei Yunj had no intention of going abroad for the Youth World Championship. But first place is too difficult. Before Song Yao could finish speaking, she felt Bei Yunj's gaze and fell silent. When Lu Yuanxi returned, he saw the crime scene. Cough, cough. Let's drink. Lu Yuanxi immediately eased the atmosphere and made up for the birthday party that he did not follow the procedures properly last time. The next day, Fu Yanbai received a call. What is it? Fu Yanbai's voice was hoarse. There was a female companion on the bed. Young Master Fu, Song Yao, return the money. Hearing this, Fu Yanbai's eyes turned cold. More than 70 million yuan. How could Song Yao have the money to return it? Soon, Fu Yanbai thought of that person from yesterday. Bei Yunj. After a while he said coldly, I'll deal with it. Was Song Yao trying to escape? Did she think that she could live a stable life just because someone had returned the money for her? She should live a lowly life for the rest of her life to atone for her sins. Chapter 589. Yu Manran was jealous and felt that his status was not as good as before. Who is this girl? Is she your friend? Bei Yunj looked at Song Yao, who was still doing questions not far away. She was leaning against the corridor and drinking water. Why are you so good to her? Yu Manran was jealous. This little kid has always wanted to return my money. I'm afraid that something will happen to her, so I think it's safe with you. Bei Yunj thought for a moment. If this doesn't work, I can only attack the Fu Corporation first. Wait, Song Yao's name. After regaining his senses, Yu Manran was shocked. The eldest young lady of the Song family? You know her? I know her. She used to be very famous and was good friends with Fu Yanbai's dead ex-girlfriend. Yu Manran said. They're not, Bei Yunj said calmly. I see. Yu Manran seemed to understand. Then I understand. I'll arrange for someone to audition for her as a model. She seems to have been forced to repeat her second year of high school, right? Then I'll arrange for less work. Okay, thank you, Man. In our nation, Hua Shidu received a call. It was from Fu Yanbai. After Hua Shidu answered the call, he heard him suppressing his anger, but there was still a hint of anger in his voice. Master Du is so generous to the young lady? You can take out 70 to 80 million yuan so easily? What's the matter? Hua Shidu's deep and indifferent voice was cold. Bei Yunj casually gave Song Yao 70 to 80 million yuan to pay off her debt. Doesn't Master Du think anything of it? Fu Yanbai could not help but come to look for Hua Shidu. Hua Shidu's eyebrows moved. He did not have any impression of the name Song Yao. He said slowly, "Is that so? Then, beautiful book bar." Before Fu Yanbai could speak, he heard Hua Shidu's conversation. "Sang Su, pay this debt for Miss so that there won't be enough next month." The man's low and magnetic voice said lazily. Sang Su suppressed the surging emotions in his heart. Yes. Wasn't Bei Yunj too much? Pay a debt of 7 to 8,000 yuan? Master Du, aren't you afraid of spoiling her? Fu Yanbai's face was ashen. He had never thought that a man could spoil a woman to this extent. I'll deal with what she's done. As for young Master Fu, take care of yourself. After that, Hua Shidu hung up. It also caused Fu Yanbai's face to turn pale and green. Master Du, that money is really... Sang Su hesitated. The man's thin eyelids didn't even lift as he said lightly, "Yes, I did." Hua Shidu did not show it either. Bei Yunj did not know where the money came from. He just asked Sang Su to transfer more money into Bei Yunj's bank account. He knew this little girl's temperament very well. She wouldn't do anything out of line. Also, get someone to keep a close eye on the Fu family. The little girl has a bad temper. When necessary, just take care of her. There's no need to save face for others. Hua Shidu's meaning was very obvious. If the Fu family provoked Bei Yunj, in order to make Bei Yunj happy, they could deal with the Fu family in any way. Yes, Sang Yu happened to come back from her patrol. I'll get Sang Yu to follow Mississippi. Sang Su nodded. At Yun University. Bei Yunj had just entered the multimedia hall when she heard an unfamiliar female voice. Song Yao, do you really think that you can participate in the world competition? Chapter 590. Bei Yunj stopped at the door and raised her pretty eyes slowly. She saw a girl in a blue short dress standing in front of Song Yao arrogantly with everyone. Yes, if you have the chance, why don't you? Song Yao's tone was gentle and she had a smile on her face. However, her words made the expressions of the girls present stiffen. They felt like they wanted to flare up, but they didn't know where to vent their anger. This Song Yao used to be a noble person, but she had become like this. Song Yao, I think you're too depraved. Su Xianing narrowed her eyes and laughed coldly. Student Su, if you're done, can you leave now? Song Yao did not plan to fight with Su Xianing. But at this moment, Su Xianing laughed coldly and saw the 2 exercise books in Song Yao's hands. Then before Song Yao could react, Su Xianing quickly took the exercise books. Su Xianing. Song Yao's eyes immediately turned cold and she stood up. You're finally willing to flare up? Instead, Su Xianing smirked and flipped through the 2 exercise books. So you're doing homework for others, Miss Song. This has nothing to do with you. Song Yao clenched her fists, a cold glint in her eyes. She did not care about being pointed at, but Su Xianing obviously would not miss this opportunity to target Bei Yunj. Apologize to me and admit that it was because of you that Yu Ling got into trouble. Su Xianing looked down at her. Hearing this, even Song Yao's eyes were filled with coldness. However, after hesitating for a moment, her clenched fists slowly relaxed. You know that this class doesn't allow such behavior, right? I heard that the teachers of the ordinary class like you, so nothing might happen to you. What about Bei Yunj? Hearing this, Song Yao's hand loosened completely. She pursed her lips. Su Xianing, Suddenly. What do you think will happen to me? A clear and melodious voice rang out. Then, before Su Xianing could turn back to look at her, a slender and fair hand pulled the 2 exercise books away. You! Su Xianing's face twisted. Bei Yunj did not even look at Su Xianing from the corner of her eye. She walked in front of Song Yao and patted her head with the exercise book. She said lazily, What are you thinking about, Tian Tian? You're admitting that you didn't do it? Song Yao was speechless. She was certain that this Tian Tian was definitely the Tian Tian in the idiotic sense. Bei Yunj, I've already caught evidence of Song Yao copying homework for you. You. Go ahead, snitch. Bei Yunj sat beside Song Yao and slowly flipped through the exercise book. She had just picked up the pen when she thought for a while and pushed the exercise book to Song Yao. Continue writing. The bullying at the scene was very arrogant. Song Yao looked at Bei Yunj and was silent for a while before she picked up the pen and wrote slowly. During this period of time, Bei Yunj would call her to correct the wrong questions even if she didn't come. Bei Yunj's book was also used by her to review her mistakes. When Su Xianing saw this, her expression changed. You! Oh, why is this student from the advanced class in our class? The lecturer walked in slowly with a teacup. Hearing this, Su Xianing immediately said, Teacher, I'm reporting Bei Yunj and Song Yao. The students in the special class record their usual results. Song Yao and Bei Yunj copied each other's homework and used unfair competition methods. Chapter 591. Hearing this, the lecturer paused in his action of putting down the thermos flask and could not help but look at her. Song Yao and Bei Yunj? A few seconds later. The lecturer glanced at Song Yao before his eyes landed on Bei Yunj. Is what Su Xianing said true? Teacher, actually. Before Song Yao could explain, she heard the lecturer say, I didn't ask you to speak, Song Yao. But Song Yao was about to insist when she was interrupted by Bei Yunj. Teacher, I won't admit to this. Hearing Bei Yunj being so calm, Su Xianing laughed coldly. Everyone saw with their own eyes that Song Yao used your exercise book to do it. Are you still not admitting it? What do you say? The lecturer looked at Bei Yunj and asked. In this situation, Song Yao was so nervous that her palms were sweating. She was afraid that the teacher would really ask Bei Yunj to leave because he didn't like Bei Yunj. How did you know that exercise book was mine? Before Su Xianing could refute, she heard Bei Yunj say with a casual smile, Did you write my name? Dang! Su Xianing was about to respond when her body suddenly froze. She didn't seem to have seen the name on the exercise book just now. Bei Yunj had been in class for a month and she hadn't even written her name on the exercise book. Not only Su Xianing, even the lecturer froze, his expression not too good. Bei Yunj, you've been in class for so long and you didn't even write your name on the exercise book. Teacher, she forgot, Song Yao immediately explained. The people around her were even more anxious than the original owner. Seeing this, Su Xianing and the people around her started to gloat. But in the next moment, the lecturer's expression was dark. Bei Yunj, Professor Do told me that you're very talented, but do you know how talent is erased? Bei Yunj's eyebrows moved. Lingjiu Literature Network. No wonder her results in every assessment period were not ideal, but she would always have one more place in the ranking. If you can't pass this paper in an hour, I don't want to see you in this classroom again. As soon as he finished speaking, when Su Xianing saw the question on the paper, her lips curled into a mocking smile. Hearing this, Song Yao looked at Bei Yunj pitifully, indicating for her to do it well this time. Bei Yunj could not withdraw from the competition in such a dejected manner. Bei Yunj glanced at Song Yao and then at the paper. She was silent for a while. Teacher, this paper is not good. When Su Xianing heard this, the corners of her mouth curled up into a mocking smile. Professor Do's hand-picked student was only Uzo. What kind of extraordinary talent was this? Why? The lecturer looked at her and asked. Who are? Song Yao tugged at Bei Yunj's sleeve nervously. More than half of that paper was set by me. Bei Yunj looked up at the lecturer. Lecturer. Song Yao was speechless. After coming back to his senses, the lecturer was a little incoherent. What did you say? Bei Yunj thought for a while and said, It's not very fair to do this test paper. Everyone. Damn. This damned person was actually Bei Yunj. The teachers who had come to substitute for the past few days had all said that this paper was very good. But in everyone's eyes, it was too tricky. It was even more suffocating than Huang Qishan's physics paper. In the end, this was set by Bei Yunj. Su Xianing and the rest did not look too good either. In the advanced class, only she and Cheng Zihuai had scored 70 to 80 points for this paper. Chapter 592. Actually, before Song Yao took a photo of this paper for Bei Yunj had always thought that Professor Do was testing her. But later, she found out that during the professor's gathering, Professor Do had been made drunk by Si Chengyan. When Si Changyan saw that someone was rushing for the papers of the special class, he felt guilty and used Professor Dou's account to send a test mission to Bai Yunj. Then, half an hour later, Si Changyan received something from Bai Yunj and silently transferred a copy to the dean. Song Yao suddenly remembered that when she sent this paper to Bai Yunj seemed to have been silent for a long time. So this was her paper. At this moment, the lecturer's lips twitched. He did not know what to do with Bai Yunj. He took a deep breath. We'll talk about this in the future. First, teacher, as the top university in the country, are you going to choose to protect a student? Su Xianing's cold voice sounded. The people around could not help but look at this arrogant girl in front of them. It had to be said. Other than Su Xianing, no one had the guts to speak to the lecturer of Yun University like this. This isn't protecting a student. The lecturer frowned unconsciously, but before he could speak, he heard the voice of the person behind him. Xianing, why are you here? Why are you talking to Teacher Gao? Everyone turned around and saw Professor Wei from the mathematics department. In the past 2 years, Professor Wei's reputation had been even greater than Professor Dou's. Su Xianing also called Professor Wei, but most people knew that Professor Wei was Su Xianing's uncle. It's like this. When I came to the ordinary class to visit a friend, I accidentally found someone doing homework for someone else. But I remember that our final assessment usually takes up a part of the results. Isn't that cheating? Number 1 asked. Hearing this, Professor Wei frowned and glanced at Teacher Gao. Is that so? What Su Xianing said isn't that true, Teacher Gao said. It's just that a student rarely comes, so if it's not that true, then it should be mostly true. Professor Wei said coldly. In that case, the two of them can leave the special class together. Their existence is indeed unfair to others. Professor Wei, but Song Yao is currently the top student in the ordinary class. Teacher Gao said instinctively. Like you said, it's an ordinary class. Professor Wei sneered and looked at his watch. All right, stop talking nonsense with me. Today, Yun University will have some important guests. I don't want them to know about the existence of these two people when they visit. After that, Professor Wei glanced at Bai Yunj coldly and was about to leave. Seeing this, Su Xianing also laughed. After Professor Wei left, she looked at Bai Yunj and Song Yao. Her gaze was filled with sarcasm and contempt. Song Yao, a person like you will be pulled down no matter who you cling to. If it were me, I definitely wouldn't be like you and still have the face to speak so confidently after killing someone. Song Yao's eyes moved, her eyes filled with forbearance. In the past 2 to 3 years, everyone thought that she was punished because she had harmed Yuling. Everyone tacitly agreed that she had been treated unfairly. Yao Yao, what do you want to eat? Bai Yunj suddenly asked and interrupted Song Yao's attention. I'm fine with anything, Song Yao said. Then let's have a meal first. Chapter 593. Teacher Gao's expression did not look too good either. Bai Yunj, don't go yet. Professor Dou might. Teacher Gao, I'm sorry for troubling you during this period of time. Bai Yunj's eyes curved as she pulled Song Yao out of the classroom. Looking at Bai Yunj's figure, Teacher Gao felt an inexplicable strange emotion. To be honest, although he had little contact with Bai Yunj during this period of time and even felt that this student was unruly and did not do her job properly. However, in terms of details, this student was unruly but well-mannered. Do you really not want to participate at all? If you can get first place in this competition, it will be a valuable stepping stone for you to enter various research institutes in the future. I don't want to, Bai Yunj said slowly. Song Yao was speechless. What was this person thinking all day long? Stay here first. I have a call. Bai Yunj brought Song Yao to the private room and walked out. In the long corridor, the person on the other end of the call said in surprise, Miss, you're finally willing to contact me. I heard that you're the one who's preparing for the Mitchell Mathematics International Competition? Bai Yunj asked directly. Hearing this, the head of Lee University was stunned. He did not understand why he was asking about such a competition. The head of Lee University probed. Yes. Do you have any juniors who want to participate? Bai Yunj continued. Yes, can you leave a spot? Of course you can. The head of Lee University agreed readily. Although this competition required professional qualities of the contestants, how could the juniors of the family be bad? Wan Shu Building. Okay, thank you, Director. Pei Yunj hummed in response. Before she could hang up, the director of the hospital hurriedly said, "Wait, can you reconsider the matter of our celebrity wall?" "Director, I'm sorry. I don't want my private life to be affected yet." Hearing this, the director's tone was regretful. "Is that so? But you're really outstanding. Actually, our Neely University has always had the intention of recruiting you. Neely University is a top school and has never lacked talents." Pei Yunj smirked lazily and easily gave Director Li a way out. "A talented person like you would be fought over in any country. Speaking of which, if it weren't for Jones, would you have developed in country R?" Head Elder Li said with a regretful tone. After all, the treatment they received in our country's Confucian art circle had always been top-notch. There were also many scholars who had immigrated from country A. "I won't." Bei Yunj answered without any hesitation, which stunned Dean Li. "Why?" Obviously, country R could provide more resources. Bei Yunj didn't even lift her eyelids. She had been asked the same question since her last life. "That's my family's teachings." These words made Dean Li suddenly curious about country A. After all, their country's ancestors had never received such education. Meanwhile, Professor Wei was showing two people around the campus. Along the way, he attracted the attention of many people. This was Jasmine and Titch, the students of country R's top rich second-generation heir. "Thank you for your hospitality, Professor Wei. Thank you very much for today." Jasmine smiled at Professor Wei. "You're welcome. I've heard that you're also in Yuncheng?" Professor Wei said with a smile, but he was asking for information. Chapter 594. That's indeed the case. Our teacher has always been in Yuncheng and has never left. Jasmine smiled. "Then I wonder, will I have the chance to meet him?" Professor Wei's mind was on the 8,000 questions. But who would have thought that a new scientific researcher in the computing field would actually solve the 8,000 questions in the mathematics world? If possible, he hoped to have a chance to interact with him and become the third person to solve the 8,000 questions. I'm really sorry. Our teacher doesn't like to meet strangers." Jasmine smiled helplessly. Neely University has always wanted to organize a wall of fame for our teacher, but they haven't been able to contact our teacher. At this point, Jasmine and Titch also felt a sense of pride. Back then, when Marcus asked them to follow the new members of the Our Nation's Computing Institute, they were still a little unconvinced. After all, they had always been the young elites in the industry. But later on, it was their teacher's professionalism that taught them how to behave. "But our teacher is in the Computing Institute. If you really want to meet him, you can visit Mr. Zhong Shanglin," Titch said. "Really? Thank you." A smile immediately appeared on Professor Wei's face and he continued chatting with Jasmine and Titch. "However, I didn't expect the two of you to come to Yuncheng personally." Jasmine's eyes were filled with envy. "This is our teacher's hometown. We really want to see the place where our teacher grew up." "Yes, I also heard that the teacher-student relationship in Country A is very good. Country A is very particular about respecting teachers. We have always wanted to get closer to our teacher." Titch nodded. Hearing this, Professor Wei also began to realize that these two top-rich second-generation heirs did not put on any airs in front of him. It was a sincere respect for him. One had to know that the rich circle of our nation still had some residual feudal thoughts. But in order to get closer to him, these two had personally come to Yuncheng to meet him. Thinking of this, Professor Wei could not help but feel envious. Suddenly, Titch received a call. Seeing the caller ID, Titch's tone immediately weakened. "Teacher." "Yes, have you eaten?" The voice on the other end was slow. "Yes, I've eaten. That thesis today." Before Titch could finish, he was interrupted. "Just give me the thesis this week. How long will you be staying in Yuncheng recently?" More than half a month." Titch was a little stunned. He did not quite understand why Bei Yunj asked this question. "Then are you free?" Tiki answered without hesitation. "Yes, I do." "Between you and Jasmine, who is better at mathematics?" Bei Yunj asked. "That's about the same." Titch didn't dare to say anything about anyone, especially after Pei Yunj taught him mathematics the last time. "I have a friend is participating in the Mitchell Mathematics International Mathematical Olympiad." Hearing Bei Yunj asked, "Tich?" He nodded repeatedly. "Sure, sure." At the same time, Tich. There were people around their teacher who were participating in the Mitchell International Mathematics competition. Wasn't he too down to earth? "Okay. I'll send someone to look for you later." "No, teacher. Please take care of yourself." "To be." Professor Wei could not help but look at Tich. Is Tich on the phone with someone? After Bei Yunj finished explaining, the two of them hung up the phone. Tich looked at Jasmine again. Chapter 595. Teacher asked us to fetch someone. Hearing this, Jasmine raised an eyebrow. What happened? You'll know later. With that said, Tich turned to look at Professor Wei. Professor Wei, we still have to fetch someone. Why don't you leave first? However, a dark glint flashed in Professor Wei's eyes as he smiled. It's all right. I'm familiar with Yun Cheng. If that person can't find you, I can bring you there. If this person was a friend of, then he would have a better chance of coming into contact with her. At this moment, Tich and Jasmine looked at each other and did not say anything. 10 minutes later, they suddenly saw a girl about the same age as their teacher. She seemed to be looking for someone. Jasmine's eyebrows moved. He was about to go forward when Professor Wei saw Song Yao, who was wandering around Yun University. Didn't I ask you to go out? Why are you still here? Professor Wei's tone was cold and impatient. Even his anger was rising. These students nowadays, did they all think that they were so capable? Who dared to accept the students he chased away? Professor Wei, I'm here to look for someone. Song Yao glanced at Professor Wei, but her eyes were fixed on the brown-haired Tich and the blonde-haired and blue-eyed Jasmine. Looking for someone at Yun University? Do you think that after attending classes at Yun University, you can? Do you know Yunj? Song Yao asked tentatively. These two people's appearances matched Yunj's description very well. Yes. Tich immediately nodded, his eyes shining. You're Bei Yunj's friend? Beside him, Jasmine could not help but look at Tich in shock. This brother was getting bolder. He even dared to call his teacher's name so directly. Yes, are you one too? Song Yao nodded. Her gentle aura was likable. Yes. Tich remembered what Bei Yunj had told him and could only nod. Hearing this, Jasmine almost thought that Tich was crazy. He even dared to call himself teacher's friend. However, in the next second, Jasmine suddenly regained his senses. Tich might have said this because of his teacher's instructions over the phone just now. Nice to meet you. I'm Song Yao, Yunj's friend. Song Yao smiled. Professor Wei, who was watching this scene, froze. Why was the person Tich and the rest were waiting for Song Yao? Didn't that call just now come from her? However, both of them had brought up Bei Yunj's name. Professor Wei remembered Bei Yunj. She was a student that Professor Do had his eyes on, but compared to talented players like Tich and Jasmine, her talent and ability were not worth mentioning. How could he be Tich's friend? Just as Professor Wei was denying it, Tich hurriedly took the exercise book for Song Yao and said with a smile, Yunj said that she wanted me to teach you mathematics. You are going to participate in the Mitchell math competition, right? Although my mathematics isn't as good as Yunj's, I've won first place in the Mitchell competition in the past. I hope you won't despise us. Song Yao was speechless. What was this person talking about? She wasn't as good as Yunj in mathematics, but she had won first place in the Mitchell competition? The Mitchell competition. It's not difficult. I've won first place before. Jasmine, who was beside her, interrupted and comforted her. Don't be nervous. It's just a small competition. Chapter 596. Song Yao could not help asking, what school are you from? I'm a postgraduate student from the computing department of Neely University, Tich said. Me too. I'm in the same department as him. We're both interns at the Institute of Computing Technology in our nation. Jasmine added, I'm an intern. Is it the one who solved the 8 questions? Song Yao felt her legs go weak and she suspected that she was dreaming. Was the big boss's student taking her under his wing? Hearing their identities, Song Yao felt that it was a waste of their talent to take her under their wing. Seeing this, Jasmine understood. Indeed, the teacher's friend did not know the teacher's identity. Yes. Jasmine said with a gentle smile. So you don't have to worry. We'll teach you diligently during this period. Song Yao was speechless. Isn't this too troublesome? She really did not know what Master Pei was doing. At first, she thought that Bei Yunj had found a student from Yun University to teach her. Who would have thought that it would be a postgraduate student from Neely University? Furthermore, this was his personal student. No trouble, no trouble. We're very happy to do it, Tich said hurriedly. What a joke. It was the first time their teacher had instructed them to do something. If they couldn't do it well, wouldn't they seem too useless? Finally, Professor Wei could not help but speak. His expression still not too good. Isn't the person you want to take over someone you know? Hearing this, Song Yao looked at Professor Wei in confusion. How could she know a god of this level? Yes, it's someone I know. I'm not too sure either. Tich said vaguely, maybe someone asked our teacher for help. When Professor Wei heard this, his expression turned even uglier. He was looking for an opportunity to contact her through his student. That Bei Yunj actually had the ability to get in touch with this person and get his student to teach Song Yao. But does this student have a spot to participate in the Mitchell competition? Professor Wei said with a fake smile. He knew very well that if Jasmine and Tich took Song Yao, Su Xianing's chances of getting first place would be even lower. Hearing this, Tich turned around in confusion. Ha! Isn't Song Yao an individual international contestant? What? Professor Wei's expression changed completely. For a long time, the requirements for individual international contestants were very high. They needed qualified scientific researchers to recommend them. Even he didn't have the qualifications to be a recommender. He had just dismissed Song Yao not long ago. How did she become an individual international player? Miss Song, do you want to check it out? At this time, they should have already registered, Tich said. Hearing this, Song Yao was also inexplicably nervous and took out her phone to check. Not long after entering the website address. Then, her personal information appeared. Name, Song Yao. Sex, female. Player type, individual international player recommended by. Seeing the last line, Tich and Jasmine's eyes were filled with envy. Even their teacher hadn't let them walk through such a special passage. An individual international player. One could directly advance to the next round of the preliminaries. This meant that as long as Song Yao passed the fourth round, she would at least be in the top 10. One had to know that in the past few years, almost no one had been able to pass the requirements of an individual international player. In this year, Song Yao was probably the only international player. All of a sudden, Professor Wei's expression was ugly and he regretted it even more. He had actually chased Song Yao and Bei Yunj away. Chapter 597. If he hadn't chased them away, would he have been able to get to know them through Bei Yunj? At this thought, Professor Wei's heart turned cold. He could not help turning to look at Song Yao, his voice stiff and slow. Student Song, is Bei Yunj also an individual international contestant? She's not participating. At first, Song Yao did not understand why Bei Yunj was not interested in this competition. However, at this moment, when Song Yao heard what Tich had said and the recommender displayed on her phone screen, she seemed to understand why Bei Yunj was not interested in the competition. Song Yao took a deep breath and stared at the recommender displayed on the screen. It was really, her recommender was actually. Suddenly, Song Yao really wanted to send a message to Bei Yunj to ask if she could get her an autograph. This was a new scientific research big boss. At this moment, Professor Wei's expression darkened even more. It was over. He had really offended Bei Yunj. At the Computing Institute, Bei Yunj glanced at the phone beside her that was flashing with notifications. She did not plan to look at the message. She didn't need to guess to know that this was from Song Yao. Until 6 in the afternoon. When Bei Yunj was about to go back, she called Song Yao and walked out. However, she did not expect to see Fu Yanbai standing at the door of the car the moment she went out. It was obvious that he was waiting for someone. Looking at Fu Yanbai's gaze, Bei Yunj furrowed her eyebrows quietly. She vaguely felt that this person might be her. Yao Yao, I'll hang up first. With that said, Bei Yunj hung up. New World. When Fu Yanbai heard this name, he frowned unconsciously and a trace of coldness flashed past his eyes. Miss Pei, I have to remind you that that woman is not a good person. She looks gentle, but she has a vicious heart. Bei Yunj did not even look at him and planned to leave. Seeing this, Fu Yanbai immediately chased after her and handed the bouquet to Bei Yunj. He smirked. Don't you like these flowers? I've heard that no woman doesn't like flowers. The woman you like is called Yu Ling, right? Bei Yunj's words made Fu Yanbai pause. Then he calmly admitted, yes. She's a very bright and kind person. Although she's not as good-looking as you and doesn't have your family background, her personality and yours. Young Master Fu, if it were me, the one who fell into the sea back then wouldn't have been me. It would have been you. Bei Yunj's slow words interrupted Fu Yanbai. Next. He laughed. Yes, you're even more daring than Linga. Was it because of Hua Shidu? He does care a lot about you. But Miss Pei, it's not easy to enter the Hua family. As soon as he finished speaking, before Bei Yunj could say anything, a woman's voice suddenly rang out. Young Master Fu, are you trying to take advantage of Master Du? Hearing this, Bei Yunj turned to look at the woman who was walking over. He was dressed in professional attire and looked very capable. His eyebrows seemed to resemble Tsang Su's. Miss Pei, my name is Tsang Yu. I just came back from K Country 2 days ago. I'll be in charge of your daily life in the future. When Tsang Yu smiled, there were 2 little dimples on her face, which made her look more childish. Master Du is even willing to let Miss Pei use you? Fu Yanbai's words were vague. He was deliberately making Bei Yunj think that there might be something between Tsang Yu and Hua Shidu. It's my honor to be able to stay by Miss Pei's side. Master Du thinks highly of me. Chapter 598. With that said, Tsang Yu suddenly changed the topic and asked with a smile, I remember that young Master Fu's last relationship was rumored to be the talk of the town. Why am I here today? Master Du even brought you here. Are you that worried? Fu Yanbai asked without a smile in his eyes. In Fu Yanbai's opinion, Tsang Yu was more difficult to deal with than Tsang Su. After all, she was a woman and her words were aggressive. Young Master Fu, you must be joking. Tsang Yu's tone was indifferent and the smile in her eyes faded a little. Although Miss is young, it doesn't mean that she can't differentiate between good and bad. My job is just to solve unnecessary problems for Mississippi. With that said, Tsang Yu looked at Bei Yunj. Miss Pei, can we go back now? Yes. Bei Yunj also glanced at Tsang Yu and followed her back to the car. When Fu Yanbai saw this scene, his face turned gloomy. In the car. Miss Pei, can I take you home? Tsang Yu asked. Okay, thank you. Bei Yunj responded and looked at Tsang Yu. Are you Assistant Tsang's sister? Yes. Tsang Yu smiled. I heard Tsang Su mention Mississippi Miss is more beautiful than I imagined. However, your position in the Computing Institute is... She remembered that her brother's original words were, Miss Pei was good-looking, but she was unruly and her grades were not good. But thinking about Miss Pei's face and family background, it was already fortunate that she was not spoiled to the point of breaking the law. I'm here to take a look. Bei Yunj smiled. Dream Chinese. When Tsang Yu heard this, she felt that something was wrong. She could visit the Computing Institute at will now? She remembered that this Computing Institute could only be entered by swiping a card. Tsang Yu couldn't help but sigh. I've only been away from Yuncheng for a year. Has there been such a big change? I remember that when I just graduated, I also sent my resume to the Computing Institute, but they didn't even let me in. Bei Yunj. Looking at Tsang Yu's capable image, Bei Yunj didn't expect her to be a chatterbox. After Tsang Yu told her everything about the company, Bei Yunj suddenly interrupted her. Have you been to Country R? Tsang Yu was stunned for a moment, but when she looked at Bei Yunj's eyes through the rearview mirror, she seemed to understand something. She smiled meaningfully and said, Usually, when Master Du goes on a business trip, he only brings my brother along. However, I heard from my brother that the women in Country are much more straightforward than those in Country A. Bei Yunj glanced at Tsang Yu. Not reserved? Yes, my brother has a market in Neely and was almost kissed by someone. Let alone Master Du. Tsang Yu's tone was full of disdain for her brother. She chuckled. I don't know what's wrong with Tsang Su. He bragged about how he was almost forced to kiss me for 3 years. Bei Yunj. Since when did Country A become so unrestrained? Miss Pei, You can call Master Du more often when you're free. Sang Yu said intentionally or unintentionally as she secretly looked at Bei Yunji's expression. Bei Yunji responded indifferently, but no one knew what she was thinking. After Bei Yunji got out of the car, Sang Yu sent Sang Su a message. Sang Yu, I'll definitely win your 10,000 yuan. Miss Pei will definitely call Master Du today. Sang Su? Sang Su. Haha, Miss Pei has been quarreling with Master Du recently. What are you thinking about? Call him? Chapter 599. Sang Su. After returning to the bedroom, Bei Yunji took a shower as usual and read some documents. However, an hour later, Bei Yunji unknowingly picked up her phone and checked the records of Hua Shidu's messages to her. Bei Yunji. Why were they all sent in the morning and afternoon? Was he so busy at night? With this thought in mind, Bei Yunji suddenly remembered Sang Yu's words. Even Assistant Sang was so lucky in love. Moreover, this man had always been very attractive. Thinking of this, Bei Yunji's eyes moved. Just as she was about to send a message to Hua Shidu, she suddenly stopped. A moment later, Bei Yunji made a call. After about a minute or two, the other party picked up the call. Yun, what's wrong? The man's low and magnetic voice sounded even more textured through the current, teasing her eardrums. Brother, are you very busy? The man was silent for a moment. Bei Yunji heard him chuckle again. He said, I'm not too busy. Bei Yunji heard the man's deep and magnetic laughter. For some reason, her throat felt dry and she licked the corner of her lips. Suddenly, Bei Yunji said without thinking, Brother, can you video call me now? The other party seemed to be silent for a moment. His tone was nonchalant. Now. Can't I do it now? When the man heard this, he suddenly lowered his voice and chuckled. Yun. Then Bei Yunji heard him say slowly, Brother, any time is fine. Bei Yunji. This D***M man was at it again. Give me 2 minutes, then I'll video call you, okay? Bei Yunji suddenly smirked and said with a smile, Older brother can do it now, right? The little girl's meaning was obvious. He had to make a video call to her right now. His Adam's apple bobbed as he chuckled. Yes, Yun is right. Although Hua Shidu did not understand the little girl's thoughts, he could clearly feel that his child was awkward. Not long after, Hua Shidu turned on his computer and sent Bei Yunji a video call invitation. As expected, Bei Yunji quickly agreed to the invitation. However, after the call was connected, the atmosphere in the air froze for a long time. Bei Yunji saw that the man's short hair was wet, and his upper body was naked. He seemed to have just changed into a pair of pants, and his firm and sexy 8-pack abs were faintly visible. It was simply too terrible. Bei Yunji. So, did Hua Shidu say that he wanted to wait for 2 minutes because he wanted to go and get dressed? The silence did not last long. She said, Brother, dry your hair. The man replied, Yes. The atmosphere was still awkward. The girl's ears gradually turned a faint shade of red. The man's eyes were fixed on her, and he couldn't hide the smile in the depths of his eyes. Yun, can Big Brother go and put on some clothes? All right. Hence, Bei Yunji saw with her own eyes that Hua Shidu took out a black shirt and slowly changed his clothes not far away. The man's lazy yet clean temperament, as well as his well-built waist, simply made people blush and their hearts beat faster. Bei Yunji. Couldn't he avoid the camera? Hua Shidu changed his clothes and returned. He glanced at the little girl wearing silver-rimmed glasses and smiled again. Yun looks good in glasses too. Bei Yunji accepted the compliment with a clear conscience and asked, When will Big Brother be back? In another week. The emotions in Hua Shidu's eyes flickered, and his magnetic voice was filled with a smile. Did you miss me? Chapter 600. Okay. Bei Yunji responded and could not help but look at the man's impeccable face. She had to admit that every time she saw the man's face, the anger that had just risen in her would disappear completely. Seeing Bei Yunji admit it so straightforwardly, Hua Shidu's Adam's apple bobbed unconsciously. His gaze darkened and his laughter was a little hoarse. Sometimes, the recklessness and straightforwardness of a young man were the most moving. Suddenly, Bei Yunji saw the man's thin lips curl up. His magnetic voice sounded light and lazy, not hiding the gentleness that made her blush and her heart race. Child, I miss you too. At this moment, Bei Yunji's hand that was holding the pen froze. Her heart was beating wildly. There was a knock on the door. "I'll hang up first." After Bei Yunj regained her senses, she immediately wanted to hang up the video call. Even her mind was in a mess. The lethality of this sentence was simply too great. However, suddenly, she saw Hua Shidu open the door and heard the woman's voice. "Mr. Hua, I don't think there's hot water in my bathroom. Can you help me take a look?" Although it was a foreign language, Bei Yunj understood the woman's intentions very well. However, the man's eyes darkened and he smiled. "No need. I happen to have a favor for you." With that said, Bei Yunj did not quite understand what he meant at first. Hua Shidu's voice was cold and magnetic. It was obvious that he was not easy to seduce. However, the woman did not want to give up. Her coquettish and teasing voice made one's heart itch. "Then can I take a shower here, Mr. Hua?" At this moment, in a hotel, if there was a problem with the hotel facilities, she would not look for the hotel management but a stranger for help. In the next moment, the woman was probably afraid that Hua Shidu would not believe her, so she said pitifully, "I have no choice. As a female celebrity, if I appear in front of a stranger like this and get photographed. Miss, I don't have time to fix the water heater in your bathroom." Instantly, the smile on the blonde woman's face froze. She was even more suspicious. Where did this woman come from? Not long after, she suddenly noticed the video on the computer screen. Hua Shidu did not speak. He only turned around and walked into the inner room. Seeing this, the blonde woman was overjoyed. But the next moment, she heard the man say lazily, "Baby, someone wants to take a bath here. Do you think it's okay?" Bei Yunj looked at the woman who had walked in without permission. She lazily rested her chin on her hand and did not hide her purpose. She smiled and said, "I'm sorry, sister. I'm very possessive. I don't intend to lend you anything, whether it's things or people." The woman's expression changed. Of course, she understood what Bei Yunj meant. She glanced at Hua Shidu, still a little indignant. The girl's appearance was exceedingly beautiful, and her brilliance was unparalleled. No. Then, she watched the girl in the video take off her silver-rimmed glasses. Her eyes looked like they were smiling, but there was a natural laziness to them. Bei Yunj also realized that Hua Shidu was looking at her. She immediately found an excuse and hung up the phone. Miss Pei actually had a video call with Master Du? After they left. But not long after, Tsang Su came to knock on the door and happily invited this female celebrity away. Before this, Tsang Su saw Bei Yunj on the phone with Hua Shidu and widened his eyes in disbelief. However, not long after, Hua Shidu's words suddenly appeared in Bei Yunj's mind. P.S. 2 chapters will be added tomorrow morning. Babies, remember to vote. The top 15 of the monthly votes list will be added with 4 chapters in the morning. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.